Yo, 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 what's going on, YouTube? It's your boy Nate the Great coming at you with another live. You already know if you're new to the channel, like, share, comment, and subscribe. To all the returning friends and family, you already know it's peace and blessings. I'm gonna give y'all some time to tune in case these notifications ain't go out. Apologies for the half an hour pushback. We was out here getting a crazy storm just now, but starting to slack up, starting to slack up. But yeah, give y'all some time to tune in. First things first, you already know. Hopefully, everybody having a blessed and productive Taco Tuesday. Taco Tuesday. Hopefully, everybody smoothly gotten through the work night. For those who might be going to work, hopefully you have a smooth shift. Jared, what's going on, my guy? Hopefully, everybody was able to keep themselves hydrated as well, especially in the city. Yeah, it's been a hot one today. That rain might help out a little bit, but we shall see. We shall see. Yeah, like hopefully everybody enjoyed their Fourth of July weekend as well. Hopefully everybody was safe in whatever adventures they was getting into, and hopefully everybody that was enjoying and celebrating birthdays. Hopefully y'all made the best out of your time out. Hopefully you created new memories and just enjoyed yourself overall. Appreciate everybody that tuned in Sunday for the conversation. Definitely was a great one. Shout outs to Sticks in Charge, and also shout outs to my boy Harry for popping in on the panel, popping in on the topic of the conversation. Definitely was a great one. Got some different views and opinions. Definitely got some good knowledge in it. For those that missed it, you could catch the replay definitely. Um, Let me put this up. I want to talk about something, and the title is clear as day. Um, some people might not agree with what I might say at some points, but I'm just giving you my view and opinion. You might not agree with it, but we can always agree to disagree. When it comes to certain things, I think about the safety aspect more than anything. You know, sometimes I know, people might say things and some people that take offense to it. I don't want you to take offense, but if you don't agree with what I'm saying, it's perfectly fine. Just Jay, baby. Now, over the weekend, we had a situation, and in my opinion, that situation could have went far worse. For those that might not be familiar, there was a situation where a 6-year-old boy was almost kidnapped from his parents. But when the parents realized that this person had the son in their hands, the man threw the son down to the ground, you know, and I think he got chased over, but I also think he got arrested. Actually, he did. They ended up arresting him at some point. I don't know when, but the sad thing about that is this man literally has mental health crisis, mental health disorder. And these are some of the people that I speak about sometimes. These people are out on the streets with no way of support, no way of getting what they need as far as medication and treatment is concerned. So they left out here to fend for themselves just like a homeless person would. The sad part about this story is, yes, the boy luckily, luckily didn't suffer no real harm, no real injuries, but it was a scary factor because again, this child could have been kidnapped from their parents, and the parents wouldn't have known it. This is why I always say, especially to those parents who got young kids, keep your eyes glued on your children at all times because certain things right now that's happening, it can happen to yours. But Files, what's going on? What's going on? Yeah, see, prime example. What happens if that man would have decided to throw that boy into the street, especially with traffic, coming through back and forth. And that child, God forbid, would have got hurt. Who's ultimately to blame for those situations right there? Or I got something better. What if that man doesn't do that to that child? Let's just say you kept your eyes off the child for a little bit, and come to find out your child done got into something where they done got hurt. Again, who's essentially to blame for that situation happening? This is something that I always speak highly about people just paying attention and being more aware when it comes down to their kids. You know, we gotta definitely, have more. We gotta have more vision. Basically, we gotta just have more situational awareness, and not just parents, but people within the communities. You know, again, this could have went sour. This situation right here could have possibly harmed or unalived this child, or it could have been a situation where this child might have been lost, and God knows for how long. You know, I speak on this even if it's not every day, but when I get the chance, I do try to speak on this situation at hand. Again, these is people who are suffering from mental health issues. These is people who are constantly or consistently getting into some form of situation to where it's almost a revolving door. Yeah, you might get them, you might have them, you know, locked up for a couple days at best, and then they back out on the streets. You know, and that's the thing though. He acted nonchalant, but to be honest with you, he's mentally ill. I came across that dude at one point. One of my live streams, I was doing some commentary on something, and I paused for a minute only because that's the same individual I seen talking to himself, but also in the garbage cans collecting cans and bottles. So it's like he somewhat knows what he's doing, but then again, you could tell there's just something completely wrong with him. Serious baby, Didi baby, happy Taco Tuesday, Taco Tuesday. But this is why I said it's important that again, parents who have young children under the age of 12 and 13, please again pay attention and just be aware of your kids' surroundings. Your kids shouldn't be wandering off. I don't care how well known you are in the community. Your children still face a certain danger, you know. Now, like I said, what would have happened if that man didn't snatch that kid up? What was just to say if that kid was sitting on the corner and God forbid a car jumped the curb and hit that kid? These is different things you got to think about. And it's really critical in this day and age right now to really start being glued in and locked in with your children. Because again, you never know what could be the situation. Now, luckily, yeah, that man was arrested, but in the same token, how long you think they really gonna keep him? Especially if he's on paper or he's labeled as how you would say a 730. With a lot of these facilities and a lot of these asylums being closed, he'll be right back out on the streets like nothing happened. And I think that's sad again when it's a revolving door when it comes to people with mental health. Now, again, these people are not getting adequate help. These people are definitely, you know, even though they kind of falling under the radar, I feel they should be up under a tight microscope. You know, it might sound like to some people, it might sound like it's injustice, but I don't believe so. Again, you got to think about the welfare and the safety of your child. Because let's say if this man wasn't insane, or let's say if this man wasn't, in this situation, who's to say he wouldn't have still tried to do something? You know, this is why, again, when it comes down to the people within the community, y'all gotta definitely pay attention. This is what I'm saying. Like I said the other day, a village was actually on point with everything that's going on. And it is a blessing from the higher power that that boy wasn't seriously hurt. But it's sad that even on a corner where you got a bunch of people, these are things that some people are not paying attention to. I think it's sad though. The only reason why I said I feel like to some degree in certain instances, and this is just my opinion, some of these people should be on the registry as far as we know who's who in the community. We know what to avoid. We know if at any cost we have to do the unnecessary, we're going to have to do the unnecessary. The unnecessary thing for some people, because they don't care. No, let me correct myself. Nobody wants to do the unnecessary or the unthinkable to some of these people. But if it's coming to that point where it's you against that, you're gonna have to eventually do the unnecessary. But it shouldn't even come to that point. Again, if some of you are aware that these people are suffering from mental health, your best bet a lot of times is to try to get in contact with somebody that's going to be able to try to help. But we see what's going on today now. Again, a lot of these places got closed down. You cutting these programs. Then you got people who are supposed to be getting the actual help, and they still not getting it. It's like they got to go through a circus act and a half just to get what's necessary. Help. The fact that this man actually did that, and again, parents, please be aware of your children's surroundings. I don't care if you going into the simplest spots like a store. Make sure your kids is around you. Don't allow your kids to be out of your sight because it's just that split instance that anything can happen to them. Guardians, same thing. Pay attention to the surroundings and pay attention to what's going on with the children. But also pay attention to the people that might be around in these areas, because you don't know who could be literally, you know, who literally mentally ill or just somebody who could just be possibly scheming, you know. It's sad though, because again, I'm all for seeing these people who really suffer get help. But it's sad that when these people who could actually be helped are not being helped, they get thrown back out into society like F it. And it's sad. I'm happy that that young man definitely didn't, suffer any real injuries or anything along those lines. Angela, baby, you already know if y'all just tuned in at the like button. This is what I'm saying. It's important. You know, it's important that you definitely do what's necessary. You know, pay attention to your kids because look, you have some situations where kids are being kidnapped or being taken away from families because you decided, well, I'm gonna let my child play out in the front while I'm doing this. I'm gonna let my child out my sight for a minute so I could do this. 22, what's going on, my guy? And I think that's important though. Again, it is important that, you know, we start trying to do the necessary things to again protect. We always say safety is the most important thing. But how can we be safe? Or how can you say you're gonna be safe if you're not paying attention to what's around you? You know. Again, thank God nothing happened to that young boy to where it would have been a tragedy because that's something that no parent would want to go through right now. Think about the kids who have been kidnapped, taken away from their family, and never got a chance to see their family again. Either because they still out there lost in the world, people done gave up hope on trying to find them, or worse. Blackout, what's going on, my guy? And this is what I'm saying. For some people, you'll sit here and you might not agree with what I was saying, but I'm being real. Some of these people who are the most severe when it comes down to mental health, they should be on a registry as far as we need to know who these people are because, you know, it might be new people that's moving into the community that's unaware of these things. And even if they're paying attention to some situations, it's not a guarantee that that's just going to be a good look on anything, you know, especially again when they take them through the system and then within 2 to 3 days they back out in the streets like nothing happened. I said in certain instances they should be held accountable like anybody else would be held accountable. That was an attempted kidnapping, regardless to what the mental status was. You almost took somebody away from their family. There should be no reason why within the next couple of days that person will probably be out of jail. Who else popped up in here? Who else popped up in here? Brothers, baby. See y'all up in here. I'm gonna drop this link too because I want to get everybody's views and opinions on this one tonight. I mean, I'm serious right now. Parents, think about everything you're supposed to think about. Your parents was making sure that you was good, no matter what it is they was doing. Even if they was outside handling, business, right? They was still making sure that nothing happened to you. That they had their watchful eyes on you. If you thought to do something, they wasn't far behind you. You know, it's a situational awareness that we definitely need more of because we know how it is right now. Until they try to reestablish or until they try to do something that's going to be beneficial to help these people and also to keep them off the streets until they are able to be a part of society again, we already see what's going to happen. Evelyn, baby. Who else popped up in here? Who else? Davis, what's going on, baby? And that's what I'm saying. It's situations like this that could cause grief and pain to a whole family. That's why I said you got to be more on point. Got to be careful. Never let your children, especially when they under a certain age, don't let them out your sight. Prime example: this past 4th of July weekend. You know how many kids or how many what they would call signal 70s I done heard over everywhere, even off of a cop radio. Walking past cops, hearing, "Oh, we got a missing child. We got a missing child." Parents, even in areas where you know it's going to be flooded, pay attention to your surroundings. Make sure your kids is on you, stuck on you for real. Because it's just that instance right there. Anything can happen to that child. And then what? Yeah, we could point fingers at situations, but we got to point the fingers directly back at us because we're not paying attention. Just like I said, that child right there, had a scary situation. No child should ever have to go through that. No child should ever feel like they never going to see their parents or their family again. And this is why I said it's critical that we really start bringing awareness on a different level. It's going to be needed because if they're going to keep spitting them out back through the system, then what's the point? You know, and that's the thing though. That man that tried to do that definitely is one of those people who suffer from mental health crisis. Now, some people might have been mad. Some people definitely is like, oh, he was nonchalant. We don't understand that. But you got to remember too, when some of these people are just like how I just said, you know, they not really looking in reality because their reality is warped to some degree. And then some of them, when they realize they have done something wrong, it is not a guarantee you're going to get some remorse from it, you know. But again, parents, you have to be the first line of defense regardless. Anytime you see something that just don't look right and your children are in the vicinity, you got to pay that a close attention. That would be like prime example. If you know a person just got out of the jail for some form of sexual predator crime and now they on a list or a registry, they shouldn't be around. They shouldn't be around in that vicinity at all. Why? Because again, it could be a possibility that person does something. See, that's the thing. Some people are not going to be rehabilitated. Some people are going to continue to do the same repeated patterns until they fully get stopped. And in some situations, we got people that don't care about people's mental health. You think they won't be hesitant on putting a bullet in somebody just because they think they was doing something? And then these people might not even know these is crazy people. And I hate to say crazy because nobody's really crazy. But in the same token, mental health is real. It's just something you got to focus on. You don't know what could have happened in that little split instance. You know, never put yourself or put your children in that type of danger. Now in my overall opinion, the thing is, how do we get to a better place? How do we get to understanding where, okay, we know this is going on, but how are we going to combat that? How are we going to battle this? How are we going to make sure that even people that's on that side of the fence know that we're not tolerating that, or that we're not going to sit here and allow the danger to be a danger? I watched somebody, 2-3 weeks ago. First, they was talking to themselves. They was hitting the air. They was screaming and yelling. Before you know it, cops had to take his ass down. Why? Because again, now he almost did something to almost attack somebody that wasn't even bothering him. So what does that tell you sometimes? James, what's going on, my guy? So what does that tell you? That tells you that when you see certain situations like that, yeah, you got some folks out there who trying to play crazy just because they feel if I play the crazy role, maybe I could get away with whatever it is I'm trying to do. But when you know somebody is definitely certifiable, they done had long outstanding history of that, these are the ones that need to be, the people need to know who they are. Because again, you might have new people moving into the community. They might not be too familiar with the community they in. And even if they pay attention to one or two things, it's not a guarantee that that's going to always help. Marlene, baby. And that's what I'm saying. We definitely got to bring more situational awareness. Now, like I said, some people might not agree with what I'm saying. But again, I feel there should be a special registry for those who we know for a fact you know, is on the mental health side. Because again, if you're going to spit them back out into the communities, you know, it's only right. We need to know who these people are. We need to know exactly what to look for, the behavior, the progression, all of that. Because again, some of these people get spit out and they go back and do the same things over and over again. And I think that's important though, because just as quick as that could happen, anything else could happen. Now, let's take this person out the equation, and then your child is just on the corner playing or just whatever. And like I said before, let's say, God forbid, a car would have lost control and hit that curb. Or let's say if it was a shooting that started happening and your child is on that corner and get hit with a straight bullet. Whose fault would that be? Yes, it would be the fault of those people who started to do the shooting, but it would also be your fault because, again, you're not paying attention. You're allowing your child, again, your child is only 6. It doesn't matter what age it is. Your child could be in any form of imminent danger when you're not paying attention to them. And this is all I'm saying. I feel bad for anybody who, was born with it and can't help it. But guess what? Some of these people actually have help. You want to know why? Because they got family who is looking over them, or even if not family, close friends to the family that's keeping eyes and tabs on certain things. Because again, some of these people, they don't mean no harm. Some of them don't, you know. But then you got those who you never know. All it takes is one little flare up, one little minor minor set off, and that's it. Bronze, what's going on, my guy? My bad, y'all. Y'all hear that? Y'all hear that coffee stirring? About that time. So you know I'm about to go in. But see, this is what I'm saying. How do we assess the situation? How do we try to avoid these situations from happening? Again, the best bet, keeping your eyes out and keeping tabs out on your children. And I think, the dangers of some of these people with mental health is that they get spit back out into society like they wasn't even in trouble. Like I said, when you done took away all these asylums or closing them down, you taking out these outpatients, you know, outpatient programs, inpatient programs. When you closing out a lot of things that are supposed to be beneficial and supposed to be helping those people, what the hell are we left doing? What are we left holding? We left holding the bag to a degree. We're gonna be left holding the bag because guess what? They're part of our society. And again, I feel anybody who really needs that help, they should get it. James number 8, what's going on, my guy? Because again, now, prime example, there's just some things that should never be accepted. Being irresponsible when it comes down to the safety of your child should never be accepted at all. And it shouldn't be overlooked. And again, thank the higher power that nothing seriously happened to where that child would have been suffering. But it's a scary look for everybody, you know. But it just goes to show you, a lot of times the village has to really be on point with these scenarios that's taking place. Appreciate you for dropping those links, serious baby. Working hard in this thunder and lightning in my area, baby. But yeah, it's critical now. I think it's important. It's important that we start covering more of these type of situations because almost everybody somewhere has gone through that. Almost everybody somewhere in the United States is definitely going through that. I'm going to say far beyond the United States. So how do you raise the awareness? Well, prime example. We know they ain't going to never put a registry for people with mental health. The only way you'll find out something is just by either word of mouth or just by observing what's happening with these folks, you know? I think it's important again to remember, you know, your child faces imminent danger. Up until they get into adulthood, your child, your teens, they definitely still, you know, are in imminent danger. It's bad enough we got scenarios where kids are being kidnapped and they're being forced into either, sex trades or whatever else. And that's what I'm saying. Your child could have been a victim being kidnapped and forced into a certain lifestyle that they're not accustomed to, or a certain lifestyle that will definitely mess them up mentally. So this is why it's important again for some of you parents to pay attention. I don't care if you own a house and you think, all right, my child is in the front yard, they good. You still got to pay attention to what's going on. And if you know you're going to be more than 5-10 minutes, nah, your child need to be next to you until you finish with whatever business. See, I can use a prime example myself. There was times I used to go out with my grandmother. When my mom was working, my grandmother had me. Guess what? My grandmother didn't take her eye off me, not one bit, even if she was taking care of whatever. And a lot of times it was, you keep your butt here until I'm ready to go. All right, cool. That's you got it. You got it. Because it's supposed to be that way. Because again, they responsible for you. And if anything happens, guess who the responsibility lies back on? The person that was supposed to be guarding you. And again, no child should ever have to worry about these forms of attacks, or these type of crimes happening. But it just goes to show you that, look, Things like that could happen in the blink of an eye, and it's a scary situation and will always continue to be one. You know, and you probably got some people who probably say, well, shoot, we see this nigga, we gonna whoop his ass, we gonna do this. But just remember, you could think to do all of that, but that person still has a mental health issue that they can't help. You know, I could see if this was just a drunk person and nah, you know what the hell you doing there. But when you got a person who is literally supposed to be on meds or supposed to be in a facility or an asylum and they roaming the streets, dangerous right there. Dangerous on all cylinders. And that's why I said it's important again to really pay attention to what's going on, man. You know, but again, how do we come to a conclusion? How do we bring more than just the situational awareness? You know, what measures should be taken? That's important. What steps do you take to protecting you and yours? I think that's important too. Because, like I said, even if that didn't happen, there could have been a multitude of things that happened because your child wasn't in your sight. Even if it wasn't a shooting that occurred, it could have been anything. It could have been a full out riot. You know, it could have been a multitude of things. Your child probably could have just got wrapped up in the crowd because if it's a holiday weekend, oh, you best believe in certain areas it's always going to be crowded. Love, baby, what's going on, baby? Shoot, I think my coffee too sweet. Yeah, hold on. Oh yeah, James passed that vanilla cream over here, man. But yeah, you know, I'm glad that again that nothing seriously happened to that child. You know, and this thing, even simple things like that, a lot of times will place a mental scar on these kids because they will be fearful to some degree of being out and about. This might put some fear in the parents too, because now the parents definitely going to have to be more on point and more cautious now, which means again added protection. It's important that it's important that we keep that safety net going, because in the long run, again, let's be real. This could have been a situation where a parent or two parents would have been burying a child just because of that split second. No matter what it is you're doing, no matter what you are getting into, if you know you got your kids with you, make sure that they good on all aspects. You know, seeing some situations where if the parents was busy, they had older siblings to make sure these kids wasn't getting into stuff. And if not, it was just like I said, the village was being on point with certain things. It don't seem like it no more, and I think that's the scariest part about it. Because some people again will say, well, it ain't my child, it ain't my family, so why should I care? You should care because again, that's a human life at the end of the day. And God forbid that human life could have been gone just as quick as it happens. I think it's important though, again, that we get to a better understanding and start creating a structure to where we keep that safety net going at all costs. Because prime example, now what if that child has special needs they damn selves? Would you have allowed your child with special needs to be on their own? I don't think so. Again, some of y'all gotta realize your parents was on point and your parents was definitely making sure that you didn't fall through those cracks or these situations right here. So again, start building that structure back. You got your own kids now, right? You don't want your kids to be out here basically ass out and naked because of no safety net, no no measures, no nothing. My best advice, like I said, for some, if you know you've encountered a situation with somebody who is mentally ill and unstable, call your nearest local authority or call, flag down a cop, do something. But the best thing is to try to defend yourself or defend your child. Like I said earlier, with that situation I was talking about, this dude started swinging at the air, cursing, doing everything. Before you knew it, cops had to tackle him because he was about to attack somebody who was just minding their business on their phone. So again, we got people like that who are moving around, but they could be a danger just as quick as anything. But again, situational awareness. Some of y'all are going to have to really get your eyes and ears out of your technology and pay attention to your surroundings. I think that's the only difference between the generation now and the generation back then. Technology that much of a wasn't that much of a play. You know, you really had to be on point. The cell phones wasn't really big things back in the day neither, because again, you had to pay attention to everything. So whatever information you was getting, it wasn't coming from no social media. You had to literally either watch the news or you had to been within that vicinity when things took place. You know, and that's the problem. You know, right now, in some instances, social media is the problem because there's some people who are worried about a TikTok or worried about doing certain things, but you got your children that who are supposed to be up under you. Either they down the block, they on the next corner, they done got away from you and went elsewhere by themselves. Can't do that, you know. So again, how do we battle that? How do we create this better structure so this way these type of scenarios won't happen? Again, yeah, he might have been nonchalant doing what he did, but in the same token, that man had severe health issues. And how would I know that? Because again, I had an encounter with that person before. They ain't do nothing crazy, but you know, it's just you could tell when somebody definitely is not playing with a full deck. If anytime you could pop up out of bushes out of nowhere and you wasn't nowhere in the vicinity, yeah, something wrong. That's why I'm saying you have to pay attention to a lot of scenarios. Anything that seems like it's presenting a red flag or a danger flag, yes, please make sure you're paying attention. Because again, you wouldn't allow a child with special needs or who's physically disabled to be left on their own. So how do you think that pans out when there's nothing wrong with your child, but your child is not up under you? I'm not saying that these people are bad parents, no, you know, but in the same token, you know, they had a scenario where it could have went left. And again, pay attention. I don't care if you went in the store. I don't care if you went to somebody's house. Anything along those lines. Make sure your child is up under you. You know, because it could be a simple situation that could have your child going forever. 9 out of 10. Again, look at some of these people who never get a chance to hug or even have moments with their children because of these scenarios. When y'all see certain things happening, and guess what? I would say it on this level. If you see that you coming in contact with somebody like that, even if you can't flag down some local authorities or whoever that could help the situation, the people that's around should be standing up and banding up to help that situation. Because that's the one thing I could say about people on that level, or at least that suffer from that form of mental health. They get even more scared when they see his numbers ganging up and seeing that, look, we're not playing, or you're not going to get away with whatever it is you was attempting to do. They won't be quick to crash out as bad. They'll realize they outnumbered. They'll realize that they don't stand a chance at certain things. And then they'll eventually stop whatever it is they're doing. But see, accountability is another thing. And regardless to what their mental status is, they should be held accountable like anybody else will be. Because that right there is a serious crime. You attempted to kidnap somebody's child. Now imagine if that would have been a young girl in that same situation would have happened. What you think would have been the thing? You know? It's talks like this that we have to have because again, the people think that this is something that should be overlooked. Sometimes the people feel like, oh well, we don't really care about this. This ain't nothing that's our concern. No, it is our concern because again, these people live within our communities as well. In regards to what, you know, they are human beings. They do, you know, pose somewhat of a danger. Sometimes they pose a danger to themselves. I remember a couple years back, dude was definitely, I don't know if they kept him locked up or yeah, he probably somewhere else, probably doing the same thing. But this is a person that was consistently every other day getting arrested, and then 2 days later back on the streets. You'd have thought he was snitching the way that he was getting up out of jail or getting up out these situations right here. But a couple years back, this dude started not just banging on stuff; he started banging his own head against things. And people didn't know what to really expect. Outside the people that knew them well, it probably was like he's having an episode. Again, when they not getting that medication they supposed to get, you see the withdrawals and you see the outcomes from the withdrawals. Ain't a good look, you know. So again, the best bet will always be just pay attention to your surroundings. Make sure that your children are not in any form of physical danger, and just staying solid and staying firm on what you need to stand firm on. Because like I said, honestly, you know, these are the type of scenarios you're going to come across every so often. And if it's not from somebody who's suffering from mental health, it could just be from somebody who's sick in the mind, period. And to be quite honest, like I said, something has to be mentally wrong with you if you could think to almost kidnap a child or think to do something that could be dangerous or harmful to a child. Any way you look at it, mental health is real. And it's showing its face just about every damn day. It's showing its face. So, how do we make a better structure? How do we keep these scenarios from constantly occurring? It's something that needs to be asked. Now, like I said, despite that, kidnapping is a crime and could be a serious crime on top of that. Let's see how long this person actually stays in jail, or let's see if this person actually is let out by the next day. That's the scariest part about it when you think that a person that should be held in confinement or just health overall could be out in less than 24 or 48 hours. That's a scary notion right there. That's a fact, James. But see, that's the sad part about it. It should never get to that point. But like I said, they shut down a lot of different programs for these people. They shut down a lot of their facilities. And whatever facilities is open, they overcrowded. It's almost like prison systems right now. To some degree, there's a lot of prisons that's overpopulated with inmates. Some of these people probably have less crimes that they don't really need to be behind bars for, but guess what? They got them in there as part of the overcrowded population. And yes, appreciate you, serious, because this can be a trigger warning for some. because we've already had some people who probably had that same problem. Kid almost kidnapped or possibly hurt just because of dealing with or coming across somebody who's suffering from the worst forms of mental health. This is something that cannot be overlooked no more. It's bad enough we got to deal with unnecessary gun violence at times. We got to deal with unnecessary fighting, division, everything else along the lines of the community. But when you got to worry about your child possibly getting snatched up and kidnapped by somebody who has mental health issues, that's definitely a problem. Appreciate you, serious baby. Definitely appreciate you for that. Cause yeah, this could be a trigger warning for some. Because we have some people who are in our families who suffer from that same form of mental health and disease. Can't help it, right? But again, be more on point and be aware of what's going on. And trying to intervene or calm down these actions from these people doing things. Um, it's not easy. Like I said, when my mom's, may she rest in peace, when she was dealing with older people who had mental health issues, like I said, I used to come to the job every so often. One time I was coming through, trying to see, because I was thinking about doing that at one point in life. I was thinking about working with those type of people because I seen how much patience my mom's had, but also she was adamant and helping any way she possibly could, even with people who have those type of issues. I happened to come in one day, and while she was trying to give meds out, one of them had a whole outburst and try to fight not just the staff, try to fight the people that was also, residing in that household. And when they tried to lunge up at my mom's, I wasn't having it. Now, I could have went left. I could have put my hands and feet on them. But I know what the situation was. So my best bet was just to diffuse the situation before he got a chance to do anything. Yes, I had to grab him up and keep him up on that wall. And he was even shocked because, yeah, he had some strength on him. But don't get it twisted. Some of these people with mental health, they got that extra strength in them. So you going to really have to tackle, or you going to really have to go toe to toe with them to a degree. When he realized that I wasn't the one playing, and when he realized that he couldn't outmaneuver me, he couldn't power me, couldn't do nothing, he calmed down. Ever since that situation, even as of now, I see him. Hey, how you doing, Nate? What's going on? Yo, when you want to see me next time? We go play this game together. He calmed down. I didn't want to do it, but in the same token, I did the best I could possibly do because that could have been a situation. Even if my mom's could handle herself, didn't matter. Nobody's going to allow any type of harm to come to the person that gave him birth. So, Uncle Ralph, what's going on, my guy? Again, I didn't want to have to do that, but I had to because, again, it was safety measure that just went in my mind. Ever since that day, they knew better. They knew that, I can't do this or I can't act this way because somebody might actually do something to me. Somebody might actually be able to outmaneuver me, or this person might be stronger than I think. I took the underestimations thinking I was going to be able to do this, and it didn't work. Appreciate you, serious baby. And my mom's, like I said, my mom's definitely dealt with these people, and these was older folks. These wasn't no. I think the youngest person in that household was probably maybe 21. Everybody else was 25 and older, but you'd have never known it because some of these people still look like they was young in the face and all of that. But don't get it twisted. They still suffered and still had to take medications. See, even those type of households, like my mom used to work at, they closed those down. This is why a lot of them are on the streets now. And that's the one thing you would have to hate to do is you gotta get to that form of physicality just to stop the situation. But in some instances, you're gonna have to. Because like I said, as long as they spitting them back out into the streets with no form of meds, no form of help, They're a danger to themselves and others. And I think that is critical. Again, we bring back situational awareness. Because this is something that can't be overlooked. Now they're going to talk about this for a little while because, like I said, let's see if he don't be back out in the streets soon. And how would some of y'all react? Because I know some people probably have been through that, had close calls with situations like that. My child almost got kidnapped. My child almost got physically hurt. My child probably almost got physically or mentally scarred because of a split second. Like I said, I'm all for humans being treated like humans. Even those who suffer from the worst forms of mental health, they still human. But in the same token, there's just some situations where, yes, they would have to be held accountable. Because if they are consistently coming out and doing the same type of things, then guess what? It ain't no rehabilitating them. There's no way of trying to get around that. They're going to continue to do the same thing again until they are fully stopped. And who should want to have to do that? Nobody shouldn't have to think I might have to put this fool down just because they ain't paying attention. Just like a couple months ago, this lady that was out here try to attack more than a couple people in a small store. But the sad part about it is that the store damn near stomped her out. I can't get mad to a degree because again, this lady was attacking. She done already attacked one person and a person that has a chronic history of bad leg problems. So what you think gonna happen? You come in here attacking people. Some of these people don't even know if you crazy or not. They don't care. They're gonna intervene because again, you just did something to somebody that wasn't bothering. No doubt, Angela. Appreciate you, baby. And I felt bad to a degree because it's literally a 6-on-1 and they whooping her ass. But in the same token, she just did something that made those people unsafe, unnerved. This is what I'm saying. You got some, and then it don't make it any better when some of these ones are actually on the worst type of drugs. And I ain't talking about they meds. Some of these people out here who suffer from mental health are dipping and dabbing in certain drugs like coke, crack, and all of that. So what you think gonna happen? Any little form of setback, they gonna be on one. And that's exactly what happened with that woman. She is on paper as being, insane. But in the same token, she copping work or copping whatever from, you know, copping work or copping whatever from these people. So it ain't making it no better. And then let's also bring this into play, right? We got a scenario now where the new drug for some people is that quote unquote K2. Look how a person that's using K2, look how they act, look how their body language is. I've seen some of them that literally have been on corners, sleep, looking like a dope fiend all day. They out and about tweaking. They are doing the utmost. What does that essentially say? That is sad that you got people out here who are suffering from the worst forms of mental health crisis and they ain't getting the proper treatment. They getting treated like outcasts or third class citizens. It's not fair. It's not fair because guess what? Again, if this person, male or female, decides they're gonna do the same thing over and over every time they get themselves out of trouble, no, that's a repeated pattern that needs to stop. And at some point, it will stop. And again, prime example. If that child would have been separated from their parents, Yeah, the dude would have been at fault, but again, the parents would have been at fault too, because why are you not paying attention or keeping a close eye on your kids? I'm saying there's no way to overlook that situation. And some of y'all be too invested in whatever it is you're doing, and you're not invested in the safety of your children or invested in the safety of you. Now, in certain situations, the children haven't been victims. There have been adults that have been victims. Like I just said recently, this woman just got attacked in the store, and this lady has a history of bad knees, bad knee problems, things along those lines. And she just got pushed and almost attacked out of nowhere. The people that already knew what it was, that's why they did what they did to that woman. When I say they whooped her ass, when I seen her later on, because they did take her, but then guess what? She was back out that night. Now you got a lump on your head, your eyes half closed, but you still out here wilding. This is what I'm saying. If you know these people ain't deemed safe to be outside, why are they still coming through that revolving door? That's something that you really need to ask. And I think that's important. Again, building a safety structure. So this way we won't have issues like that. This way, you don't have to worry about, yeah, I might have to do this or I might have to do that just to achieve that safety. Again, the safety measure is just paying attention to your child and their whereabouts at all times. Prime example, that's like you not paying attention to your child. Your child could be out and about with people, or you don't have close eyes or tabs on your child. You don't know what your child could be doing. And that's why I said, you have to take accountability and you also have to be responsible. I can use me again as a prime example. Anytime I had my younger brother with me when I was younger, and this is before my mom started to pass. Anytime I had my brother, my cousins, anybody that was younger than 9, 10, younger than 6, I paid close no matter what I was doing. My eyes was solely focused on making sure that they was all right and they wasn't getting into nothing. Or making sure that the area where I was at was safe enough to where I didn't have to keep my eyes off them. I still kept my eyes on them, no matter what I was doing. And if at any time I felt like I was going to be not physically around or paying attention, nah, they was up on the meeting. Whatever I thought to do, I'll do it later. Or I'll do it on another time. And that's what I'm saying. You know, Once you're a parent, your job is to raise your kid, to educate your kid, teach them everything that's needed. But again, making sure that their safety doesn't get compromised. You know, your job doesn't stop once you become a parent. Your job doesn't stop once your kids become a certain age. You still got a responsibility regardless. For those that just tuned in, you make sure y'all hit that like button. If y'all new to the channel, like, share, comment, and subscribe. Again, how do we build a better structure? It begins with the people within the community. See, this is what I'm saying. Now, some of these facilities that got closed down could have possibly still stayed open if the people within the community would have got involved. Because regardless to what's going on with these lawmakers and politicians and everything else, we still have a standing on protecting our community. We still have an obligation on protecting ours at all costs. East Dad, what's going on, my guy? I'm gonna drop this link in case anybody want to chime in. Rose Gold, what's going on, my guy? Been a minute, my guy. I hope all is well. And that's what I'm saying. It's important. It's important that we definitely keep eyes and ears open because this danger could have happened to anybody at this point. That child could have been younger than 6. What if that child was a 4-year old, 3-year old, 2-year old? Why is they not in your sight? Why are they not up under you like they supposed to be? See, like I said, the differences between the generations is back in the day, even when our parents and grandparents was doing things business wise or whatever, they kept a close eye on us, even if they had to sit here and watch us run around wild crazy. So be it. But at least we know we were safe under that umbrella. We have to talk to our children about personal boundaries. Facts, serious. That's another thing they got to start remembering. Got to do that, man. You got to teach your children about situational awarenesses as well. Just in case if I don't have my eyes on you, you make sure you don't do this, or you make sure you stay close by. But if push come to shove, you stay right here next to me until I'm ready or I'm finished with whatever I'm doing. That's why I said the link is pinned. Well, it's dropped now. In case anybody want to chime in on a topic, you're more than welcome. But this is why I said it's important. Again, situational awareness will always be the key, especially when you have kids or guardians. Like I said, when I was going out young and hanging out with the fellas or hanging out with the peoples, sometimes I had my brother and my cousins with me. If not them, sometimes I had one or two people that trusted me that well to say, well, listen, I don't want my child being stuck in the crib all day, and I don't want my child to be out and about with no supervision. You think you could possibly bring him along with you and yours? Cool, come on. And even then, I had that situational awareness where it's like, look, y'all don't go far, y'all don't do nothing. I'm still watching y'all, but keep yourselves away from anything that looks unsafe. And if somebody comes to you or somebody says something to you and you don't know them, you come get me. And anybody that's been around me or anybody's kids that been around me will tell you that same thing. Always going to be on point when it comes to that, because again, the simplest thing, like you not paying attention, could be the reason why you and yours be in an unsafe situation. And I appreciate you again, Sirius, for dropping those links. You know, you definitely uh if not the greatest moderator I've seen on YouTube. So your works and your due diligence doesn't go unnoticed. Just want you to know that. And that's for all the mods that actually do what they do. You know, I appreciate every last one of y'all that actually take the time out and do what's necessary. For those that love to support the content, appreciate y'all for that as well too. Even if it's just for a quick tap in, you know. But these are the type of talks that I'm not going to stray away from. Some people might be uncomfortable. Some people might not want to have them, but we need to have them. But again, teaching your children about those type of situations will definitely help out. It's just like I said, it's critical nowadays because look at what's happening. Somebody just got arrested for something knowing that they got mental health, and then 2 days later they back out on the streets like nothing happened. When that does happen, the community needs to be on extra guard, because again, you never know what could happen. You don't know if this person might have another episode and try to do something else. You already know how we do serious, baby. That's what I'm saying. Like prime example, this past holiday weekend, like Friday night, especially in my area, this shit was jam packed. And when I say jam packed, I mean bumper to bumper traffic, foot traffic out the yin yang, looking like we was at the damn um ball dropping at New Year's Eve. This shit was crazy. And this is the crowded this is the most crowded that has been since the pandemic first started. So just think about it. We had a pleasantly hot weekend, so many different events going on, And some of y'all coming out with your families, but again, you're not paying full attention. There should be no reason why kids are being ripped away from families or not being close by families. Like I said, you know how many kids went missing? Hopefully, half of them got back reunited with their families. But we know in certain scenarios, once a child is missing, who knows what the situation could be? You know, you already know, Uncle Ralph. Shit, I ain't see you in a minute, my guy. I know me and you travel in a couple chats together, but you know, this is what we do over here. You know, like I told somebody, this is a safe space for all. As long as there's respect and as long as we all come into some form of common ground, hey, y'all more than welcome to be over here. Oh, I already know he's that shit. We pushed 95 today, I think, or 93 until it just started storming, and it's still storming on my end now. Hopefully it cooled off when I do decide to walk out. Shoot. You know, this is what I'm saying. We gotta touch on these aspects. We gotta touch on these topics. Even though some people might not want to be a part of the conversation, cool. You know, but again, some of these conversations will bring situational awareness just in case of a scenario like that happens. You know, because like I said, now this dude might be locked up, but who's to say he won't be out by tomorrow or by Thursday? You know? So I said it's critical for a lot of y'all now, especially if you got young ones or you caregivers and guardians to ones, pay attention. Pay very close attention. Because the simplest sign of not paying attention could be your worst fear ever. You know, this is what I'm saying. We're going to have to, at some point, start bringing back that safety structure. You know, and again, nobody wants to have to do the unimaginable or the unthinkable to people who really suffer like that. But when it's coming to a point where this person is still always being a nuisance or just doing the unthinkable things, you got to protect those. You know, you got to protect those and you got to protect yourself as well. You know, I might have different views and opinions on how I see things. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm quite sure everybody got different views and opinions. The main thing is if we can't come to some form of agreement, we can always agree to disagree. But I always agreed on one thing and never strayed away from it. Safety over everything. I hear you, James, man. Listen, be safe out there and, you know, definitely enjoy yourself while you out here, you know. And for anybody that might be traveling or anybody that might be doing some vacation planning or everything, again, just be careful and be aware of the surroundings. You know, and if something presents that red flag, yeah, act on it. Now, prime example, what happens if them parents didn't see what was going on? That child could have possibly been gone. Or that child could have got dragged somewhere and got hurt. Who knows what could have took place, you know? So I said it's important. You know, some people are so focused again on a social media platforms or they so focused on, you know, what's going on. They not paying attention to the simple things they should pay attention to. You know, anytime you're in a vicinity like a park, you know, anything along those lines, you gotta be careful. You're gonna always have to be careful because you think about it. Even in a park, it could be a presented danger because you got different people coming through in and out that park. Who's to say you don't come across somebody who actually is a danger to themselves and others? You know, these are things you have to think about. These are things that again should be in the minds of those who are basically being distracted right now. And there should be no forms of distractions that keep you in a scenario like that or puts you and your family in a danger like that. It's the same way how you would protect yours if you was home, or you would want yours to be protected while they at home. You gotta know who's around, who's coming around, and who has never been around. You know, you already know these dad appreciate you, my guy. You can always catch the rest of this replay. Like I said, it's things like that that makes you think. You know, how close a danger could actually be to you and yours. It's time to shift. It's time to shift away from these type of dangers. It's important, and I think it's important again to just realize that you know some scenarios just some scenarios will always present a certain danger. How do you prepare for that danger? How do you prepare to combat that danger? It's important though. Again, no distractions. Hood, what's going on, my guy? Hold on, brief intermission, y'all. Yo, Hood, you owe me a Michael Jordan jersey, son. You owe me a Michael Jordan jersey. Just remember that. And that's why I'm saying it's important. Pay close attention to everything. And again, if anything just seems out of pocket, stand on it. Do what you got to do. Protect you and yours. You know, but again, the best bet for some of them is trying to help them and not hurt them. Because, like I said, some of them they need more help than they need anything. And if you possibly can try to help them or get them to help, hey, that's important. Like I said, when they not getting the proper medication, the proper treatments, when they not getting overall the professional help they supposed to get, these are the type of scenarios you will always face. But again, stop being distracted. Your kid is under a certain age. Again, they should be up under you. They should be stuck to you like a glue trap. Prime example. Prime example. This didn't have to be a situation where a person is suffering from mental health. This could have been a person who was a predator, sexual predator on top of that. How do you fix that? How do you combat that? Pay attention. When certain things just ain't never looking right, hey, you gotta act on it. Because when certain things do happen to your children, yeah, you could point fingers, but you're gonna have to point the finger back at yourself because what were you doing that your child wasn't around you or that your child wasn't being looked out for? See, again, the community and the villages would stand together. If I see your child out and about, even if they was by themselves or with a group of their friends, if they look like they in trouble, yeah, let me make sure they not getting into any danger. Let me make sure they not in a dangerous situation. See, that's the difference. Like I said, right now, it's every man for himself, which it should never be. You know, and it's bad enough that these people get kicked through a system and then get kicked out that system to a point where it's almost like a survival of the fittest situation for them. But anytime that person is suffering from severe forms of mental health, they need to be closely guarded and closely looked out after. Because if not, you'll see the scenarios being presented. Look how many crimes took place against adults because of those scenarios like that. People that had long histories of violence and assaults still being put out on the streets. Situational awareness on all cylinders for the ones in the community. If some of y'all already know who's on paper or liable to be on paper, and you see those people around, you pay close attention like you would do anything else. But again, how do you come together and build that safety net? What measures are you willing to take to protect? Nah, it's a whole fact, Uncle Ralph, and it's the truth. That's because we had eyes to think about it. We didn't have social media. We didn't have cell phones. That was a distraction. Even when the people was partying and doing whatever out and about, guess what? They paid attention to their kids. Like prime example, having a barbecue. You having a barbecue amongst the folks. Where do you think your kids was at? They was always up under you, even in a playground situation. Look, don't go out this park. Don't go out this area. Make sure I can still see you. Then if you need something or if something is happening, you come and get me. That's how it was. Unfortunately, one of the most unsafe places for children is school. That's another thing we're going to speak about too. Appreciate you for bringing that up, Serious. And that's a whole fact right there. That's another area. And I spoke about that recently. These kids are being preyed on, not just out in the society alone, but think about it. You sending your kids to school thinking they supposed to be learning something, but they could be going through something that they shouldn't be going through that could mentally scar them for life or that could have them looking at society way different. We just had a situation recently when a teacher just got arrested for having a situation basically with a student. That should never be allowed. That should never be accepted. And once a person has that type of record or that type of jacket, they shouldn't be allowed to do anything. No teaching, no nothing. I'm sorry. In certain instances, I feel these people should be shunned from the community because, again, you didn't think enough about the community that you would sit here and commit these crimes. No kid should have to worry about predatory behavior. No kid should have to worry about injustice or dangers that be presented in the school. These kids shouldn't have to worry about being bullied. But then again, some parents are going to have to teach their kids how to defend themselves. That's why I said situational awareness works all around the board. You have to teach your kids, even when they're young, that if any danger is presented and you feel you have to do whatever, you have to do whatever, you know? And if something is wrong, try to get the adequate help you can get. And if the school ain't trying to help you, get some outside help. We tired of hearing these type of stories too, but guess what? You have some people who are somehow passing these background tests just to end up getting these jobs. And then guess what? Your kid could be in danger now. No way are we supposed to accept people who are committing these type of crimes, especially towards the young ones. Again, this will definitely mentally scar them if they have been a victim of something. And some of these kids will shut down. They won't even talk to you if these situations happen. So now you got to definitely start asking questions and doing your investigations. The one thing I will say, and this is something I was adamant on, the difference between back in the day and now, back in the day, remember, whether it was single parent home or two parent home, when dinner time was around that time, there was no TVs on, radios on, none of that. Nah, we're gonna sit at this table as a family and we're gonna talk and we're gonna have a discussion about your day, how everything going in school, etc. etc. You barely doing that no more. Dinner time come in some of these families now. Guess what? Kids done tucked their plates and ran in their room. Parents done tucked their plates, went in the separate rooms. Nobody's sitting down communicate no more. Everything is social media or media television. It ain't no let's sit down, let's have these talks. It don't seem like that no more. Some of these situations could be avoided again if we bring back some of these traditions that actually kept certain families in balance, kept things in order. If at any time again your child is showing signs of distress or anything, you as a parent are supposed to definitely jump on that. You know, that's something that a child should never have to battle alone. The fact that they was a victim of some form of crime and nobody's helping. It looks bad on the adults because again, what are you doing? How do you not see that there's certain things happening with your child and you're not trying to, you know, assess the situation? If at any time you feel your child has been a victim, especially within these schools, it's up to you to go up there and go see what the hell going on. And if you made your overall, you know, judgments and you already did your assessments on things and you see that your child is definitely not getting the proper help, get your child out that school. Selfish thing. Exactly, serious, and that's what I'm saying. And that's another thing too, Rod, is that it is a whole fact. Some people have just gotten lazy. But again, some people are just distracted. And what's the biggest distraction nowadays? If it ain't being distracted by the people you hanging with, you're being distracted by social media. So now it's, well, here, take this, go play. Or here, go over there and go do this. Go over there and go do that. It's not saying that adults shouldn't have a life and shouldn't live it. But in the same token, when you got young kids and you out and about with them, you need to be paying attention and be on guard no matter what. And that's what I'm saying. You know, it's just, it's time we start bringing back those safety measures when it's needed. Because again, no child should have to worry about those type of crimes happening. Whether that person suffers from mental health or not, doesn't matter. They should not fall victim to somebody who was trying to do something to them, or just because they felt they could do it. That's why I said it's critical nowadays. You know, it's critical nowadays that we definitely start having these talks. I'll drop the link again in case anybody want to chime in. But this was something I had to bring tonight. You know, because again, look at the scenarios. Should your child have to suffer? Should you have to be the one picking up the pieces? You're gonna have to pick up the pieces in certain situations, but in other situations, it should never get that bad. That's why I said, if you're gonna be out and about with children, you're gonna be out places where it could be crowded, or or it might be a certain present danger. Keep all eyes out on. It's vital to start having these conversations with your, exactly. That's another thing. Teaching your children the differences between good situations and bad situations. That will definitely play a part. You hit that round the nail, serious. Teaching them when things are appropriate and teaching them when it's not appropriate. And even in schools, you got to worry about that. Shit, you got some scenarios where if it's not, adults doing certain things to the children, it's children doing things to them same. It's the same children that's doing the same things. How do you react to a situation when your child was a victim of something or could be a victim of something? Hennessy, what's going on, baby? Hold on, hold on. I got you, Riders. Hold on. Riders, baby.
Nate, baby, it's been a minute.
What's going on? What's going on?
Chilling, chilling, listening to you in and out, and you're spitting some gems, spitting some facts, yo. It's just a shame that, we can only get some of these parents off these phones, stop being cyborgs. Just the other day, I seen a mom. She was all in her phone in the corner, having a real conversation with two guys while her daughter was brought to her by somebody down the street. And how did her daughter get all the way to the other end of the block? You see how the blocks are here in Philly, especially in my area. How in the
Yeah,
world that happened, I don't know. That's why I said these parents are getting lazy. They slacking. Like they're expecting the 2-year-old, 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds to know right and wrong. When it's your job. If they could stay long enough off the phones when they with their kids outside, things would be Gucci.
facts. I already know about the blocks out there because I got some family out there in Philly. Trust me. I ain't been out there in a minute, but shoot. Even when I used to go for my visits down there with some of the family, man, listen, our family was tight orientated. Even if it was you was sitting out in the front, nigga, they still had somebody looking out the window. Make sure this person ain't going off that damn. Yeah, he still there. They still there. You know, and that's important. Again, and even if we did try to, man, listen, it wouldn't be. Yeah, I thought y'all was going. Somebody was around that corner, like, where you think you was going? Oh, we was trying to get
Real
back to the house.
talk.
Like, come
Listen,
on.
all I told that mom was like, you lucky that the person that bought your child back is somebody from the neighborhood and they care. Because if it was somebody else, your child would have been snatched. Like people know the stories about what has happened ever since them kids went missing a few years back, right? Nobody really leaves their kids unattended outside. There's a few people that do it, yeah, but a lot of people don't sit here and leave their kids unattended. It takes 1 second for them to take your child, even in a crowd of people. It has happened. Like I've gotten on live and I told people, I was like, look, listen, man, just because y'all don't really see the little white vans, right, don't mean they're not out there. I went on live one day and I was explaining to people, I was like, look, in this crowd of people, there was this old man, right? This little girl was playing with my daughter, and the lucky thing is that they was on my steps. You see where I'm coming from? So I'm listening to my daughter while I'm cleaning, and like the conversation stopped. My baby was like, yo, they stopped talking. Hurry up and go check, right? I'm like, okay, they're supposed to be on the first step. I can see everything. I go check. The reason they stopped talking is because the little girl, my daughter's friend, was talking to this complete stranger, and my daughter was trying to get her in the house. As I'm walking outside, I'm looking at my daughter like, why the hell she just grabbed her friend like that and threw her inside the damn porch? And she's like, she was talking to the stranger. I was telling her not to talk to him. Da, 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 da. Yo, everything went sideways after that because my baby pops came outside. He chased the bull. He fucked the bull up in the corner. And I'm like, why are you hurting him? He had no business talking to no 5-year-old. No business whatsoever telling her to go get her, telling her to go get her mommy and her auntie. You don't know this girl.
Facts.
You see where I'm coming from? So at the end of the day, we do got to be cautious. It takes 1 second. And lucky that I had the conversation with my daughter. If not my daughter, I wouldn't have noticed what the fuck was happening. Because the bull was fast and slick with it. And I went on live and I talked about it. We have to be cautious. You don't see them white vans, don't leave these mofos ain't out here. And like Nate said, a lot of them do have mental health issues. They don't have no medications. For those of y'all that don't know, remember, like, it wasn't just that long ago when they changed the HIPAA law. You see where I'm coming from? And in order for them to be forced to see, for them to be forced into a psychiatric facility, a judge has to order that. And for a judge to order that, there has to be a lot of people complaining about this person having mental health issues and being a danger, not just to themselves, but a danger to society. And that's how you do it. But people don't come together enough for shit like that to happen. All we do is make excuses and cry about what's happening.
Big facts. Nah, what's going on, baby? Appreciate you for popping in. Nah, but that's what I'm saying. We got so many damn distractions now. Is like I said, this generation is way different than when we was coming up because again, look how much. Look. All it takes is the smallest thing. Prime example, and your kid could be gone, or your kid could be in a
Facts.
hospital somewhere. That's why I was saying, like, see, with this situation with that man, regardless to what, I know some people like, yeah, if he get out, we gonna do this, we gonna do that. But guess what? That nigga is really mentally insane and wasn't supposed to be out in the first place. But this goes to show you anything can happen. Now, see, I done had not confrontation, but I done had awareness with that person because shoot, like I said, one day I was doing a live stream and he happened to pop about the bushes where I was doing my live. So what the fuck? Like literally, I'm looking, I look back again, that nigga done popped about the bushes on some secret squirrel shit. But he has mental health, and he's not. He's out here, like I said, he's in the garbage cans, collecting bottles and cans, taking care of himself out here. But then again, it's like he's supposed to be somewhere where he's being monitored because again, simple outbreak like that. Look, he just tried to take somebody's child, and once he realized what it was, he threw that child. Now, what if that child would have broke his arm, God forbid, or anything along those lines? That child could have hit their head on the concrete hard. That's what I'm saying. It situations like that, you have to be careful. And that's what I'm saying. There's no excuse for it. Like I said, there's no days off when it comes to being a parent or a guardian nowadays. Even if you don't got kids, you being around your nieces and nephews, you want to make sure they safe as well too. They shouldn't have to worry about none of this stuff. Again, the village used to be a village. Everybody had a watchful eye out. It ain't like that no more. Everything is every man, every woman for themselves. That type of thinking needs to stop because this is exactly what's crippling our community.
That's a fact. Like that's something that Gary Busted Down talks about a lot. Like, is we really independent? People try to be independent so much, but we don't even realize that these communities run on people that are dependent. We depend on each other to make our communities run better. But we want to be so independent that we forget that we're in a community. For that, we might as well move into the fucking woods and just build a little cabin there and be by ourselves.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, but like, what the hell? It's called the community for a reason, but we're not together. We're divided. It's to the point that even if the war was to end, right, the smoke clears up, we will still be, we will still have debris in our eyes, blind to the facts. People don't see that.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's important that we do that. Because like I said, this past weekend was a prime example. I was work, like I said, I was going to work Friday night. I don't work because like anytime the holiday weekends come, expect at least 2 to 3 cops on each corner. And damn near two of the corners I went on, you can hear on the walkie-talkie, we got a missing child report. We got a missing child this. If anybody seen person wearing this and it's like, damn, like how was your 5 year old or your 4 year old, and this is what I was hearing this past week, how is your young ones not in your sight?
Let me ask you a
Like, come on.
question. Do you notice that when these kids go missing, it's mostly on holidays, 4th of July, Halloween, mostly, right?
Yeah.
Mostly Halloween on some real shit. But all these events where you're celebrating outside, right?
Uh,
Is when kids go missing. And people are not starting to notice. I'm like, these are the times when you really got to pay attention to the kids. Not be stuck on your phone trying to do a live or chatting or TikToking or Instagramming. But unfortunately, that's what they're doing from the adults to the kids. And I'm not pinning the blame on just the kids because the adults are doing it and the kids are mimicking.
Facts.
Like,
That's what I'm saying. It's needed. We need these type of talks though. Because again, it's about bringing that situational awareness. No matter what changes we going through in life, we can never change the fact that safety is supposed to be the most important over everything.
facts.
And now that's why I said we need those talks because again, it's like I was saying earlier, your child is being sent to school, prime example. They shouldn't be in fear or be in danger. And the minute you feel that it's happening or you feel that present danger, you better assess the situation as quick as possible. Because if not, guess what? That child is going to feel like, damn, nobody's trying to protect me. Nobody's trying to help me. Nobody's trying to do nothing. So I just got to keep suffering with all of this and then stay quiet about it. No, your child should always be able to come to you no matter what the situation.
That's a fact. But once again, a distraction. Parents ain't having conversations with their kids. Only but a few kids know about stranger danger or some real shit, and I'm saying it like that because that's how it was. Oh, where'd Nate go? That's how the conversations were had. I'm guessing Nate is having some technical difficulties because he put me on the big screen and left me all alone up here. Not knowing I'm scared of the dark, I sleep with the TV on and cartoons on every night.
My bad, I got booted off as soon as I moved out my spot. Shit.
You see? I wasn't wrong. He was in there with Morpheus. He got back to me. He got back to me. He rescued me.
Come on, I don't stay stuck in the matrix long. I'm just mad I just got the boot just now, but hey, I'm back.
But yeah, man, that's some real shit. But a lot of these parents don't have these conversations with these kids. These kids, man, listen, at a certain age, they should already know, the dangers about the predators out here in these streets, about, you know, certain things, how you get pregnant, how to fucking, like parents should already have these conversations with these kids at a certain age, but they're not having it. These kids are out here being thrown to the wolves, just learning on their own. What they see is what they do.
Facts. And that is important though. Like I said, and we gotta keep bringing that awareness back because again, the people have gotten too lazy and relaxed. You know, oh well, if I know if this happens, my child is going to be. You don't necessarily believe that your child is always going to be in some form of danger, but you also got to remember too, you might have a small handful of people who go by that old code of I'm gonna look out for you, I'm gonna look out for your children like I would look out for mine. But not everybody gonna be thinking that way. And those are the type of dangers you gotta be aware of, you know?
Them John's like right next to you. You've been talking about the case about Coney Island, though, right?
Yeah, I was talking about that situation because like I said, I came across that person one day when I was out and about elsewhere. So like I said, this person, even though it looked like he ain't presented dangers, the fact that I didn't seen him talking to himself, I didn't seen him jumping in cans and trying to, like I said, even in dumpsters, trying to collect bottles and cans and certain things along that nature goes to show like he has some form of awareness, but there's still a mental health issue there. And again, that's the type of person you got to be wary of because
That's a
it only
fact.
takes a split second for them to do something, and then now your child is in danger.
I didn't know he had mental health issues. I thought when I saw the video and I looked at him, I thought he was an addict.
Nah, he ain't no addict. He really has mental health issues. Like you can tell when somebody's an addict. See, with me, I can tell when somebody's an addict from when somebody really is suffering and shouldn't be out on these
You
streets.
got to
And he's
realize
one of
I was only seeing him get arrested, so I'm looking at the image. I didn't, and then listening to what they were saying, I didn't get deeper background. So I'm
yeah,
thinking somebody in the streets that gets high and just on some high shit, this some shit. So I was like, okay, you went a little deeper into it.
yeah. No, I was going to because guess what? That same outfit he got arrested in is the same outfit he wears every day. So it's like that's all I'm saying. I'm like, some people might not know he suffers from that. Because again, sometimes he'll go under the radar. But in the same token, shoot, it's sad that you would have to get to a certain point like that where, we might have to do something to you just because. But, like I said, if situational awareness actually came back into full effect, these type of problems wouldn't consistently keep happening. That's why I said some people got to just use your logic and common sense. Like I said, if he was an addict, oh, you'd have known because any type of addict would show forms that they got some form of what addiction. Like if he was a heroin addict or something like that, he was shooting up or doing whatever, you would see the marks on his arms and all that. Like I said, the most I've seen him do was jump in garbage cans and grab um, cans and bottles or whatever recyclables and probably go cash in whatever. But it don't make no better that I've seen him do. I did see him drink one time. That's what I'm saying. When these people have those type of issues and they drinking or they doing any form of hard drugs, forget about it.
It's curtains. It's curtains. Listen, mental health and drugs do not mix, and people don't seem to understand that. Like I've talked on my brother's story so many times, right, to bring awareness on it, and it's like some people get it, some people don't. Some people just gotta bump their heads to see it.
Facts, but you should never get to that. Leonica, baby, what's going on? What's going on? Appreciate you for popping in. Yeah, but it's sad you have to get to that point. But again, that's why I said talks like this are important because again, it's supposed to bring back the value of situational awareness. But also again, teaching your young ones the differences between a good situation and a bad situation.
Sure, so parents, man, like I'm telling Philly to get it together. Parents, we need to get it together. And I'm speaking in general, all right? If the shoe fits where that itch, and if it doesn't apply, let it fly. But it's too much going on, yo, for real. Like, what is we doing?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We definitely, we gotta have these type of talks and topics. My bad, y'all. I'm about to make me another protocol. But nah, that's what I'm saying. We definitely gotta have these talks and bring these type of awarenesses, whether it's every day or every other day. Because look, a situation like that just happened can happen again tomorrow. It can happen again in the next couple hours. You never know. Another thing I would say in certain instances, especially those who who got teen boys and girls, make sure your kids ain't out all hours of the night. I'll say that because again, stranger danger is all around the corners, and especially for those. And if they could barely defend themselves or if they outmatched, what you think gonna happen? Just like if you got young ones who might be responsible and they might got a little part-time job or something along those lines. If they off at a certain time, you make sure somebody is there to come get them or at least make sure they get home safe. Too much going on right now. Too much.
That's some real shit, though. We know what's going on. Listen, in the United States, approximately 460,000 children are reported missing each year, according to the Justice Department Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention. This equates to roughly 1,260 children gone missing every day. While most missing children reports are resolved quickly, many involve situations where children are missing for extended periods or permanently. And like I tell people, right, that's 1,260 children, right, going missing every single day. How many children do y'all think go missing in a matter of seconds?
Oh my God. No, but that's the truth though. And it would probably be more than that. But like I said, there are some people who ain't caught up in the matrix. They know if I got my child, I'm not going to allow my child to be in a situation where they could get hurt. That's why I said we got to definitely start strengthening up the safety lines and the strengthening up the borders of a community and a village. Like I said, there's situations where if I knew I seen present danger, nah, let me try to intervene on that. And not saying just jump in head first. No, let me assess the situation before I see what it really is. It's like the other day, prime example. Had a situation where I had to kick two people off of my floor. They don't live here, but they decide to come up here and almost have a fight. And I'm like, we're not doing that. We're not doing that at all. And the thing about it is, how are you fighting and there's a child around you? So what is that child picking up? That this is the norm, this is what it's supposed to be. No. Like I told somebody earlier, you got to be aware of what you're saying and what you're doing, especially around children. When you teaching them certain acts, or when they are always constantly around this type of behavior, what you think is gonna happen? They're gonna pick that up and think that's normal. When they get older, they're gonna be doing the same things. Well, no, gotta teach them better. And if anything, you putting them under stress.
Facts. That's a never ending cycle. And people don't seem to get it together, yo. Like, what people don't realize, right? Oh shit, I feel bad. I really feel bad for this generation, right? Because our generation in reality screwed this generation up. But even though we had a lot of OGs, a lot of good people from our generation raising us, they're not here no more. And we're stuck with, I guess, the generation that screwed up the majority of our generation. All right. Don't let that go over y'all heads. And I'm hoping people understand what I'm trying to say. Like, if y'all want Nate to break it down, you're more than welcome. But this shit, wow.
Yeah,
This
because
shit
you
is
gotta think
wild.
about it. The OGs we had, even if they, but see, it's the thing though. Some of the OGs was giving us a blueprint as far as this is how it should be, even when you decide to have your own. We, make sure you have the right people who are going to pay attention to everything as far as your children and their children is concerned. Because if they wasn't allowing their kids to be out here all crazy, or if they wasn't allowing any form of unsafety, you know, what makes you think you should accept it when you get old? No, no, no. You got to make sure that no matter what, you are putting your foot on the necks of those type of situations. You should put pressure, full force pressure, especially when there is scenarios where you got these type of different added elements. You want to know why it was certain situations that didn't happen when it came to child predators and everything? Because if the community already knew what it was with that person and knew that that person was around, any form of ill movement, we was on their ass. There wasn't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. On your neck. It ain't like that no more. If it ain't my child, fuck it. Mine shouldn't be that way. Because now, any child that's a victim will always, feel that this is what it's going to be. Nobody going to help me. Nobody's going to whatever. It's going to mentally scar them. And then guess what? Now they either moving in the community all different or they looking at everybody different.
That's never ending cycle. And that's what we need to break. We need to break the chains of society and be who we truly meant to be. But we following trends right now that don't even make sense. And I just wonder why we following trends. I think when we was little, I don't think we were. Do we follow trends? No. If anything, clothing wear, yeah. I mean, a lot of us liked it wearing certain brands, was hooked on that shit. But following trends, I don't think we did it. Did we? I know I didn't.
Oh, shoot. I mean, to be honest with you, our trends was different because, again, we had to literally or visually see the trend. Now, like I said, when certain things was out and about, like things we seen on TV, we might have followed some of those trends. But then again, there's other trends that we just, we wasn't focused on. Because again, it was like, look, this is just entertainment. Don't
Mm,
go out here dressed or don't go out here doing this. I
facts,
think every,
facts,
I think
facts.
everybody trend to a degree was when Chris Cross and them was out. Everybody tried to wear the backwoods stuff, but
Oh shit.
but other than that, it's the truth though. Like shoot, when they came out, you had mad people trying to. Oh, were they wearing their pants backwards? They wearing their jacket? They wearing their jerseys backwards? Yeah, let's
I
try this. Let's see
remember
how we
that.
look in it. Yeah,
Well, I
like
don't
let's see how we look.
remember it, but you get my point. I got to how can I say I experienced it to TV. I didn't experience it when the trend came out. I was born
Yeah,
after it, guys. I grew up in the late '90s. All right, even though I was was born in the '80s. It's just unfortunately it was '89, right? So I'm stuck between both worlds.
yeah,
So Nate
yeah.
experienced a little more than me. Like I know what he's talking about because it went viral somewhere in the '90s. They was talking about it. I think some now I see like we did go to trends, but they wasn't like they is now. They really
Yeah.
not. Like this shit now is just tripping. Like people just daring to do each other, daring to do shit that I don't even think they would really do in reality. But they'll do it for the money.
Yeah, they gonna do it now for the clout and for the views and everything. But like I said back in the day, that's because parents and even the people that was in the community would let you know off the rip. Don't go following behind this just because whatever. That's just entertainment. Or don't listen to certain things because they don't even believe that. Or that's what I'm saying. We was taught certain things. Our parents had talks with us. The people in our community had talks with us because again, it's more about safety and it's more about just
teaching more than anything.
But see, unfortunately, we don't got them OGs with us, so we're really stuck with the OGs. Well, I'm not gonna call them OGs, the old heads that I guess were stuck being, how can I say, immaturely mature.
Nah,
I'm sorry, I gotta make a joke out of all this because, like, for real, like, all this is stupid to me. Like, the shit I'm looking at, the stuff I'm seeing, it's like we're going backwards. Like, I don't know. It's hard to put down into words.
yeah. Nah, but it's just, like I said, bringing that situational awareness back. Once we get back to that, man, listen, there's a lot of things that won't be trending no more. See, like right now, only thing about back in the day and now, again, social media did play a part in some of this now. Everything it got to be a trend. Everything is a trend, a trend, a trend. Okay, there are some trends that I feel some people should follow because it will lead to some form of change and prosperity, especially if some of these people are trying to make a better way for life. But then there's other things that is just as nonsense, and it could be dangerous too because some of these trends you're trying to put out there could pose a danger. So just using your logics and using your common sense, knowing when things is entertainment and knowing when it's not entertainment.
That's some real shit right there. And parents, man, parents need to learn how to take accountability for a lot of stuff, right? And the reason I say that is, listen, I had to have a conversation with two little shorties the other day. Like, that shit not cute the way y'all behaving, but my mom allows me. I could bring my boyfriend to my room and everything. I said, oh well, damn. If your mom lets you do that, this is between you and your mama. But around my daughter, I don't want you around it. And I told my daughter the same thing. Like, shit, how are you 9 years old and you got a boyfriend? You're just a year older than my daughter. Go ahead and keep it pushing. Get the fuck out my face with that shit. I mean, I didn't get to get disrespectful afterwards, but I'm like, once I heard my mama let me do it, this is between you and your mama.
Facts. And that's what I'm saying. You're gonna have some parents who they not teaching their children anything outside of just regular hood shit. See, that's
That's
what I'm saying. Like, see, prime example. Yeah, born and raised in the hood, but guess what? My mom's had a different outlook on things when it came to me.
what I
So it
know.
was like, that's what I'm saying. There was differences. Like my mom taught me things. My mom showed me things outside of my community that broadened my horizons and broadened my vision as far as how the world is. And that's what I'm saying. Even down to the simplest confines. Well, look here. If you ever find yourself in this situation right here, I want you to understand that, you know, it's not your fault or this is just a scenario that happened, and it could get better if you get the proper help. But see, I've always been one of those inquisitive and always been aware of things. So it's just if I felt any type of danger, my spider sense went tingling. Oh no, let me hurry up and go figure out what I'm gonna figure out. And that's what I'm saying. Just having those people look out for you and teach you the best, it's critical now.
Very. That shit is crazy. Like, that shit, like, earlier when they showed me that video, I was like, damn, like, that was wild. Like, but I really, really, like, if you wouldn't have did this live, I would have been thinking that the boy had some fucking type of addiction and he was homeless because of the way he looked. But see, that's me just assuming and me, how can I say, there's a word for that. Just because I've seen what I've seen doesn't mean that it is what I saw.
Yeah. Everybody's, perception and everybody's assumptions ain't always gonna be what it is.
Dude, he
Like
looked
I
like
said,
one of
I
the
had a
boys from Kensington. That's why I was like, what the fuck? When they said it was mental health, I was like, okay, that's a possibility because I've seen them too. But I've also seen them high and messed up, down there on Zombieland.
yeah.
So
Nah, but that's why I said you can always tell the differences between a regular drug zombie and somebody who suffers from mental health. Like I said,
yeah,
I seen him talking to himself, and he been around or been out and about since before the pandemic started. So this just goes to show you there's going to be some people that are in your communities and they really do suffer, but you'll never know it because they ain't have no issues where they done got chased off or they done did something the way they would have to chase you or call the cops down. The
Do
most
you
I seen him do is talk to himself and, like I said, jump in garbage cans and grab all sorts of bottles and cans. He walk around with a bag half of the time. So that just goes to show you, like, but it's also bad because again, like I said, they ain't getting the proper help they supposed to get. So
let me ask you a question, right? We
yeah,
know that the system is, built to do what the system is supposed to do. See, my problem isn't with the system. My problem is with people running the system, right? Two different things. Like I try to get people to, understand, but they're never going to understand on some real shit. This shit stay going over people's heads, right? Do you think that the issues that we're having right now with the mental health, right, was intended, right? And it's because this didn't start getting as bad until they made that HIPAA law.
some of
They
that,
changed the HIPAA law. Let me correct that.
some
You
of
got it?
that,
My bad.
no, no, you good. Some of it, like I said, some of it was intended to happen. I mean, you gotta look at it. Like I said, they closed down a lot of these asylums and facilities that would hold these people who really do and really shouldn't be amongst the community because they always gonna be a clear and present danger. But when again we ain't standing up, we ain't really being vocal and protesting what we supposed to protest, you'll get these situations. Like I said, we go point blame at certain situations all day. But we got to take accountability for our own selves too, because come on now, we could possibly prevent some of these things from happening.
When you think it's the time to protest or boycott, do you think in a situation like this only protesting works, or do you think you can involve like boycotting? But then, I don't think this is like a money issue, so or equal rights issue or something like that. But I don't think protesting is going to work because it always goes left. So, what do you think is a better option than protesting?
Shoot, the better option is the option that I've been saying. You're gonna have to start really going to these meetings. You're gonna have to start really writing letters. You're gonna have to do a little bit of everything again. You gotta attack the system. But then guess what? When that's not working, then you
But that's the
supposed to take
problem. It ain't the system that's doing this. It's the people running the system that are corrupt doing this shit.
well then get them about them seats then. Like I
That's
said,
what
you
I'm saying.
still
Like
gotta be vocal. You still gotta be vocal. You gotta get
facts.
these people the fuck up out of there.
That's why I said I was like, I'm not hitting the system because the system is doing exactly what the system is intended to do. You see where I'm coming from? But the people running the system is where I see the corruption at.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you understand where I'm coming from. That's why I was like, my focus would be towards the people because the system can't do shit. It's not going to wake up and help us. But the people running that shit are the ones changing shit. That's why I keep telling people, I was like, listen, I'm not mad at the system. This shit is doing exactly what it's intended to do. We cannot change that no matter what we do. But what we can change one way or another, right? As we the people is the people who's running it. Now, how do we go about that? You see where I'm coming from? It's like somebody said on one live not so long ago, right? People was telling them, "Oh, what do you think about the president?" And the boss said, "Listen, don't tell me about who I'm voting for and what I think about any president until you could tell me how we get rid of the electoral vote." And I was like, "Yo, he hit them right on the nose because that right there is true. How do we get rid of the electoral vote? Because they trump our votes. No matter who we want in office, it is up. It all goes to. It all determines up to who they want to come into office, and they already know who they want into office. So it's like a game that we're playing around with this voting shit.
Nah, but this is where again, like I was saying before, we gotta attack on every angle, but we can't just sit back. That's the thing.
Facts,
Once
facts.
we sit, the minute we still sit back on certain things, things ain't going to change. Yeah, the system might be built to do certain things. People running the system following a certain agenda, but in the same token, if we not really standing up, if we really not showing that we are serious and committed about these things, and this is what's going to happen. That's why I said to some degree, get rid of the electoral colleges, all that other shit. But
Mm-hmm.
also, again, and you got people who are really for the people in the community. Do y'all best to get those people in those positions, especially if they really are going to help. You got some people that will definitely help and not go for an agenda or nothing, but shit. Again, when nobody is really focused, nobody cares, this is what you're gonna keep getting.
Yep.
Blackout, what's going on, my guy? Appreciate you again. Appreciate you.
So this doesn't just land on the system or the people running the system. It also lands on us. We have to figure out what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, when we're going to do it, and better hope it's not too late. And I'm not, listen, on this one, I'm saying everybody. Fuck that shit. I'm not just speaking in general. The whole world got to do it.
Man, like I said, in certain situations, like prime example, if we was in another, if we was in another country somewhere, you know, we have all rights to overthrow everything from the smallest damn office to the biggest office. The people just gotta be, and you want to know why we've had some situations in those countries like that where the government got overthrown? Because the people got tired of the same old bullshit happening. This is where we need to get at. We should be tired of certain things, how certain things are being ran, and we should be able to say, nah, we need change, or we gonna bring this change one way or another. Point blank, period. There's no ifs, ands, or buts no more because now it's getting even more dangerous. You're in Chicago, baby. You know, that's why I said these talks are definitely important because, you know, it's about bringing that critical awareness and thinking back. Need that. You know, like I said, you know, your mind is the strongest tool in your body. If you ain't using it, shit, you good as gone because you could fall for anything. You could fall for any danger, and that be it for you.
That's some real shit. People better stop thinking that you can only use 10% of your brain, man. You can use more than 10% of your brain. But I guess y'all gonna be stuck on that little theory right there. Only 10% of our brains can be used. No, motherfuckers.
Yeah, facts.
But stop using that 10% and start making the other 90% of your brain start working. 'Cause I think that's what the problem is wrong. I mean, that's the issue that we're having right now. People is only unlocking 10% of their damn potential. There's way more out there. Y'all just think it's 10%. Y'all better start watching movies. I know. Let me stop.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. You know, when you get back to that element of critical thinking, like I said, how long? Just like I had this same situation I was talking about, even though it was a whole different topic. Like I said, how long we gonna keep blaming the people in the system or the system itself before we just decide, fuck it, we gonna have to do what we need to do. You know, and that's what I'm saying. You know, that's just like you not having a job or having some form of employment. You gonna sit here and be broke forever, or you gonna do something to make something happen?
That's some real shit, man. A boy does what he want to do. A man does what he has to do.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know, it's this is why I said it's important.
You working or you on vacation?
I'm on vacation. I just got,
Oh,
like I said, I just when I looked at that shit, I said, nah, this ain't it.
I saw that story earlier, but I was focused on what the hell is going on in here on Philly, man. I'm trying to see if I can catch Terrell Parker or one
Mm.
of them out there and see if I can have a talk with them. Like, dude, it's
Yeah,
not easy because when they pop up, give their speech, and they out that bitch. And I'm on a bike or on a train. I'm like, I gotta figure this one out.
wait a minute, hold on one second. Wait a minute, damn it, hold on. I had to put this up real quick
Ooh,
because
that's
what she just said some shit that I was just about to say out my mouth. Stop reading my mind, serious. Stop reading my mind.
get
No,
out
mess
his
with you.
heat, get out his heat. He said,
Ah, but it's needed though. I mean, come on now. I mean, you gotta think about it. Y'all y'all are eventually responsible for who you place in office. But if you know these people ain't doing shit and they really ain't about shit, you still have a right to overthrow these people. See, they make it seem like we don't have the same rights like anybody else in any other country. If we feel it's too much and it's too much shit going on, everybody, even down to the head of whoever, should be getting the hell up out of Dodge, because again, how much more got to happen before we finally say enough is enough?
That's some real shit.
Don't be laughing because you spoke everything I was just getting ready to say. Some,
Yeah, that's some real shit. Listen, Sirius said they talk the talk with no action behind it. These community leaders are not effectively making headway. They stop in one area and not the right domain. That's some real shit.
Yeah, no, I mean, because this is what I'm saying. Like, at some point, we got to stop just pointing fingers and blaming and start taking the accountability. You know, like, and that's what I'm saying. You're supposed to be able to work together. The community is supposed to be working with these lawmakers and politicians and vice versa. But when you get a certain group just not caring at all, this is what's going to present the problem. But again, how much you going to keep blaming everything else in society before you start blaming yourself? You know what? I could have been in a better position. I chose not to do it. So I can't get mad if things ain't going the way it should go.
I know, right? That's some real shit. It's like here, when we going through over here, everybody's blaming the mayor for everything, not taking accountability that they're the reason why Nate let all his motherfucking rats and possums and raccoons and squirrels loose in Philadelphia. He said, "Get your shit together, or I'm." Listen, Master Splinter shook his hand. He's like, "Nate, I need to borrow them. I need to teach them some taekwondo, some karate chopping. I need to meet Mr. Miyagi for a minute." Nate's like, I fuck it. Like, listen, I can't promise about, my animals be out there. They got a mind of their own. I already trained them. And that's true. They out here robbing houses, stinking up buildings, coming out of sewers. Master Splinter went and took Mickey and Minnie, the kids, and all the grandkids. Man, we've been having this issue. Philadelphia need to take accountability. Like,
I told you. I'm a zoo master, so watch your mouth before that raccoon be knocking at your door. I told you about it. Don't play games. Don't play games. Look here.
Listen, he now on all the roofs over here. He's in the middle of the night trying to steal our food. They got 5 fingers. People forget they could open a refrigerator door. Shit, if they wanted to, they could fry eggs on the stove.
You keep playing games. You keep playing games. We're gonna have the Billy Goats at your damn door next. Nah, but see what you were saying about but what you were saying, like with your situation out there too, with the garbage and shit like that. I didn't know it was that crazy until I looked at the story again, not just what you presented. I just was like, well, damn, it ain't never get that bad out there. And that's what I'm saying. It goes both ways. You got to be able to work together. Like, prime example, I said the same thing about people that live in apartment complexes. Yes, we do got groundskeepers, and we got these people who they getting paid to clean and do whatever, but when they leave, it's up to us to keep our shit intact.
That's some real shit. But man, over here, listen, even though Massachusetts, right, 16 cities in Massachusetts is doing the same thing, but like I tell people, it's not just the sanitation workers on strike. You know that the judge ordered the more workers and all that stuff to go back to work, right? The medical workers are not, a lot of them are not in court. Like they're putting in these injunctions to make them go to work. And what people fail to realize, right? Since I read my laws and my rights here in Philadelphia as a block captain, right? People don't seem to do their research. Y'all, listen, we're complaining so much. Do y'all know we can go up to the courts ourselves, right? Tell the judge, we're tired of this shit. You see where I'm coming from? That's why I said, like, if the union workers would have sat here and got together with the block captains of Philadelphia, a lot of us would have sat here and probably gave them some good ideas. But all this shit is like, what people fail to realize is personal issues between the mayor and the bull. But anyways, putting that to the side, right? Yeah. There's many ways that we could do this, but if we go make that complaint, the judge will order the majority of the sanitation workers to go back to work and do their fucking job. Yeah, they might go back to work with attitudes, but what y'all don't realize is we the fucking people. We really have the power, even though they're the ones in power. And I hope y'all understand where I'm coming from. It's crazy. Yeah, it sounds shout out, but it's the facts. Go look it the fuck up. Don't Google that shit. Go look up y'all laws and y'all rights. I'm telling y'all, look at the books.
Facts. Because see, that's the thing. Wait, hold on. Now that this bill has passed, we have to. Yeah, we do. You know, like I said, we got to keep putting our foot on the gas. But that's why I said a lot of times reading is fundamental. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and a lot of times if you just look at certain things, even if you got to go to the library, hey, go look that stuff up. No. I'm saying it's truthfulness. Even if you can't assess certain shit, go to a damn library. Go pick up one of these books. Go see if something don't resonate with you. 9 out of 10, you want to say, oh shit, these people were talking some shit, but they was
Yeah.
speaking some facts.
But now Philly
Even
can't
to
go
the
to the
law
library.
libraries, shoot, just
The
get a
librarians are on
basic
strike.
sense.
They said we on strike too. We want a fair pay. Listen, now the librarians want to raise. I was like, I don't know how the librarians are going to get a hazard pay, but now librarians want to raise. I was like, okay, we could try that. I understand the sanitation workers. I understand the people that work at the morgue. The shit they got to deal with, right? The 911 dispatchers. But I'm just stuck on fucking stupid. Why are the maintenance workers from the parks and the caretakers on strike? Why are the librarians on strike again? Like, wait a minute.
Nah, but you
And
gotta think about it. They still, regardless to what, they are still doing a service to the community.
you're
So
right,
you
but
gotta think about it. But
I'm looking into the hazard pay. How do they fit into this? The librarians and the maintenance and caretakers of the pools.
yeah,
Raise understandable, but where does the hazard pay fit in these two job classifications? I don't even know how to put this into words. Like shit. Like in these two sections, in these two areas. You see, but
yeah,
that's why this is taking so long. Like that's why I'm telling people the water department is a lot of shit right now on strike. I'm like, y'all might as well went on boycott and we would have just joined y'all. Take away
yeah,
their fines, right? Before they take away our sons.
yeah,
We might as well boycott it on some real shit because the 33rd district really in reality is in charge of almost all, how can I say, the main how can I say it? They put it into words because it's not just the workers, basically like the water department, the 911, basically everything, all the workers around Philadelphia. Without
yeah,
them, Philadelphia shuts the fuck down in reality.
yeah. That could be like that in any state, basically, because once they decide they gonna do whatever, hey, you know, it can happen. But see what you were saying, how they fit in hazard pay. You gotta remember, if there's a natural disaster and the libraries get compromised, that is a hazard pay you're supposed to get because they might have been working when that situation was happening. Or,
So
a
yeah.
lot of things can be damaged because think about it, you still got books, so again, how you gonna pay for all those books that got damaged if you barely got enough to pay for anything?
You right.
So
Damn, I didn't even see it like that. I was just looking at it like, come on, man, y'all being extra now. Like, but yeah, you're right. Let's see what happens now because they decided to drop it. I was happy with 5%, but they went all the way down to 3%. So now I'm looking at the city like, all right, I'm putting Mayor Parker to the side. What the fuck is the governor going to do? Because the governor has more parts in this, and everybody is just leaning everything on Sherelle. Like now, because this is happening, it's like, all right, fuck all the good things that this mayor has done since she became mayor of Philadelphia. She's the worst person in the world. She's the devil. I'm looking like, okay, because of this right now, not y'all being ignorant to the facts, right? Y'all want to sit here and discredit the good shit she has done. Y'all not realizing that it's not just her, it's the council, city members. You see where I'm coming from? Then you got the
yeah,
governor that could shut anything down. So if the governor don't step the fuck in and fix this shit, we have to go above both the mayor and the governor. That's why I keep trying to tell people. I think what is it, the state representative or something like that? I forgot what they're called. But see, like,
yeah,
I'm just saying this to let y'all know that I've done my research. I've read my books. I didn't just become a leader of my community just to become one, just to sit around and talk shit. I did it because I want to make a change and I want to make differences. And it is possible if we come together. The hardest part about this job, and it's not even a job because I do this for free. We do not
yeah,
get paid. The hardest part about this is trying to get the people together because you got hard-headed people here. They want this, they want that, but when they finally get it, boom, it's pushed to the side. That's what I'm saying. All this shit goes hand in hand. The people play a part. The union workers play a part along with the city.
Facts. Right, because they part of the state deficit. Now they won't get funded by the federal government. The
Facts.
state will have to move money around to compensate the worker, which is true. That's another thing. Like I said, there's certain things that are falling under that bill right now, falling under that jurisdiction right now. So you gotta think about it. If I'm doing something and I'm still getting paid, if certain things happen or certain things get pushed to the side, I gotta worry about if I'm getting paid, or I gotta worry about if all of us are getting paid. That's like me running a certain organization, but then I know for a fact is landing under a certain thing. How we all gonna compensate, or how am I gonna compensate the people who've been taking their time out to help out with these situations? Now, like I said, it's just at some point, just like Sirius said, we got a freedom of speech, and we also got, freedom of expression. We need to get back to using that.
And everything that you're talking about, all this, like even me mentioning what is happening here in Philly, it all leads back to mental health. That's what people are not realizing. All this stuff happening, trash piling up, workers, on strike and stuff like that. People, depend on all these workers to make the city work. So you got people out here that are anxious. People, there's already bad enough the ones like Nate the Great said earlier, which is true, and I can back it up. I've spoke on my brother's story so many times, right? If they're over 21, you cannot get them no help. Now, when they made the changes in the HIPAA law, right, they dropped
Yeah,
it all the way down to 13. So now even a 13-year-old, unless the 13-year-old, is a danger to society or a danger to themselves, you cannot put them away into a facility. See where I'm coming from? So
yeah,
it's getting out of pocket. So with all this going on, trust and believe there's people out here with mental health issues going through it. Like with all this going on, I've seen, and the anxiety is going to go up, the depression. Like I was just listening to a video earlier how there is still a lot of people that work at the morgue that deal with the, dead bodies and all that. They're still on strike, even though with the order, I'm saying they're going to lose their jobs. But that's not the worst part about it is piles of bodies are still piling up in morgues throughout Philadelphia. You see where I'm coming from? That's your loved one in that morgue right there that you're waiting to bury.
yeah.
Give some respect. It's a lot of shit. That's why I'm like, yo, this shit is crazy. It goes hand in hand. Like the mental health is gonna rise. And I just hope they fix this because the last time lasted 25 days, which was exactly right. If we do the math right, 38 years ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna have a rise in mental health issues right now unless we resolve this because there's a lot of people out here that listen, y'all think that, all right, they seem cool, but in reality, they have a check. They're taking medication. What if they go through one of them little phases right now and say, oh, because of everything that's going on, especially the people with schizophrenia, I don't want to take my medication. I've seen a few already.
Yeah.
You see where I'm coming from? So I was like, shit, people complain and talk shit about New York. That's because people ain't hit Philly yet. You see where
Yeah.
I'm coming from? It happens in every city and it happens in every state. The question is, what are we going to do to get these resources back? And what are we going to do and how we're going to do it? There you go.
Facts. But see, that's the thing. Like you said, you're gonna have some people who they gonna be so against certain things that they ain't gonna be willing to say, well, you know what? We got to see the bigger picture. Nah, you wrong, or nah, that's injustice right there. No, it's not injustice because again, it only take a small situation for it to become a big situation. And you know what? I feel in some instances, I'm sorry to say it this way, and some people could take it how they gonna take it, especially those that's in political seats. It's gonna take one of those situations with somebody hurting one of yours for you to say, nah, we gotta definitely do something more than what we're doing.
That's
This can't happen. This can't continue to happen. All it takes is one of them to really go through it. Let them
that's
come visit somewhere and go through that shit. Let their family go through something like that. You'll see
it
how
already
quick they'll be
happened here
quick
in
to.
Philly, but it already happened here in Philly, but it got rushed under the rugs. Like I think it was around here on Broad Street somewhere. I showed it on the live earlier because I
Yeah,
was trying to show people it's not just a strike happening. Well, that explosion that happened in that recycling facility, where they take the recycling to and everything, a propane gas tank exploded, right? And I
yeah,
think that was done intentionally because I was reading, I'm like, does that shit just, does it heat up with the weather? Not with the weather that we're having, it would have to be a little higher. You see where I'm
yeah,
coming from? I'm like, that was done intentionally. But even with two staff members, right, from over there, like I'm talking about from the city, hurt, y'all still ain't fucking hurrying up. Y'all not doing something about the stuff that's going on. This happened during the strike. So
Facts.
like, what's going on? Like, what's happening? Two of y'all people got hurt during this explosion, which I personally think it was intentional. But you know what? Like I said, something's going on, and it's deeper than what we think. Because if not, like, what's coming? Like, keep how something is happening in every city and in every state, and then within every city and every state, there's something happening within communities. Right? At first, we wasn't seeing it, but now it's reaching.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all I'm saying. We gotta. That's why I said when it comes to certain things, all you gotta do is just use your visuals, use your common sense and logic, and see things for what it is. Hold on. These states have more. Well, shoot, these states have to move more aggressively now that the money is not coming through the government. We have several poor states in this country that can't. That's the truth. Serious. No doubt,
That's
serious, baby. No, that's what I'm saying. It's all a numbers thing. Like I always preach about numbers. I preach about numbers because it's true. A lot of things could be done if you have the adequate right numbers. But when you got people who are going against the grain and going against the system, well, no, can't even say going against the system. When they going against a system that should be built, especially for our protection, what you expect to happen? Like some people, oh, we need to do this, we need to do that. But then the minute there could be situations where we could actually be beneficial and actually get these things done, nobody is really there. Like I was saying before, there's a lot of situations right now that wouldn't be transpiring if y'all would take your ass to these meetings and actually, you know, voice your opinions, but also again, let it be known. Listen, we can't keep taking this. We can't keep tolerating this. What are we going to do to move this? Anytime there's a meeting or anytime there's something, hey, be a part of that. Should be no reason why the community crying about certain shit, but in the same token, the same community don't want to be a part of these meetings and these talks. Like I said, it works both ways. If y'all work with each other and not against each other, some of these things that we already know is transpiring would be a thing of the past. No doubt, serious, baby. That's why I had to have this conversation today, because like I said, some of that stuff is panning into what we was going to dangers of mental health. Because again, it's going to take a scenario with somebody suffering from a crisis like that, and they going to be doing something to somebody, especially a well-known name or whatever, and that's going to push the envelope to some degree. Well, if y'all not willing to do something, I'm going to do something. That's what I'm saying. You just got to come together and know what to fight for, what to fight against, and the things that we know can't be changed. We just got to keep a closer eye out on it and make sure it doesn't get far worse than what it is now. Really about it.
facts. We just gotta stop making these excuses. We ain't as independent as we thought, is we? Ha.
Nah, because the problem is some people think we useless or that we don't have knowledge of certain things, but we do. Again, some people are definitely going to be on it. Some people are definitely going to stand firm in what they believe in and actually fight against the injustice. Others, they just going to talk it, but they ain't going to be about it.
That's a fact. That's why it's so easy to sit here and go behind the cash register. People talk like politicians, but it's easier to become an accountant on some real shit. It's safer.
Yeah, nah, that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of different scenarios that could definitely be changed. But the thing is, are we willing to really make that progression towards the change? Or we just going to sit back and continue to allow these things to transpire? So I said, it takes a village. And I think that's the difference now. Our village is not as strong as it should be. Because even down to these little scenarios, shoot, it wouldn't be happening. At least not at the rate it's happening now. It wouldn't be happening. Like I said, what do y'all eventually come together for outside of destroying something? That's another question I'm gonna pose on another day. Like, what do y'all really deem as worth fighting for? What do y'all deem? You know, do you deem fighting for the right causes, admirable? Or if you feel like this ain't something to fight for, uh, shoot, how's it going to affect you? And how's it going to affect the people within your community? That's solely up to y'all, though. You know, like I said, the more you sit back and don't do nothing or don't be active in anything, when you don't fight for anything, nothing is going to change. When you don't come together in strength and numbers, when you don't put certain things to the side, personal differences and everything else to the side, you're going to continue to keep getting the same old shit day in and day out. Best way to make these changes is, again, standing firm in what you believe in. If you believe that certain things can be changed in your community for the better, then y'all stand together and actually hold the forefronts down. That's it.
Well, shit. Like Nate the Great said the first time I came into his live, man, speak with your chest out, even if you're a woman, yo.
You got to. Because again, like I said, our voices are powerful, our minds are powerful. But again, we got to make the necessary steps. We have to definitely be the ones that's on that battlefield no matter what. Because in the long run, guess what? We know it's certain situations where they ain't going to never help us. But this is why I said there's certain situations we shouldn't always depend on them for help anyway. We got to help ourselves more than anything. How do we stop? How do we help ourselves? By standing together and banding together on the things that are necessary.
Oh, shit. Chat, where y'all at?
Yeah.
People run from these conversations, I swear. I be having these type of conversations and people be running. Like, nah, man, I don't want to hear the reality. That's what it is.
Nah, but you got some people who they don't run from it. Shoot, like I said, people already know I'm always keep continuing to have these different type of talks, even the most uncomfortable ones.
I noticed that in a lot of channels. It's like when people start getting real serious, people start. I'm like, y'all just want nothing but, how can I say, foolishness or some real shit. I've noticed that a lot. Like I even had people DM me certain videos like, "Oh, can you review?" I'm not doing that dumb shit. First of all, if I speak on celebrities, it's because I feel as though, right, something is happening in their world that is no different from our world, and instead of following the trend, we need to start following our own lead. Like I don't believe in celebrity love. I don't believe in none of that shit. Like I feel as though we could be our own leaders, whether it's in a relationship, as a as a parent or whatever. We don't gotta sit here and follow celebrities to learn how to live our lives on some real shit. I watch celebrities for entertainment on some real shit. I want to laugh. I want to giggle. I want to not have, how can I say, a stressful day no more, worrying about how can I make a difference or a change in the things that I'm doing. So sometimes I want to fall back and laugh, but that don't mean I'm going to sit here and take these celebrities serious or to the chest.
Nah, that's a fact. Like I said, it's just things we really need to look forward. We need to look forward on the future. We gotta look forward to some form of progression and change because it's coming. Some of it might be good, some of it might be bad, but the things that are bad should never be worse. And that's the thing. If we don't stand on certain battlegrounds right now, it could definitely get far worse. Like I told somebody, you know, some people are crying about this situation right now about either these different bills being passed or these different bills that could definitely be a danger. But again, what are the people doing? Why ain't the people saying, you know what, enough is enough? We're gonna get these people up out of here one way or another and put in the people that are actually gonna be beneficial. But until that happens, you're gonna keep getting the same shit. So that's some of it is just is some of this is like programming. Like
You know what's funny?
programming people to believe that nothing can change or that nothing in society could be, changed for the better. Oh well, it don't matter. It's gonna keep getting worse. No, no, no. It don't necessarily have to be that way. If you change certain aspects and like again, the numbers come together, You can change that.
That's some real shit. And you know what's the biggest excuse I've heard on people when they bring all this shit up? I'll sit here and say y'all talk all that, right? But at the end of the day, like all the people that we sit here we talk about, from Martin Luther King to Malcolm X, Rosa Parks, all of them to our ancestors and shit like that, they gotta be rolling around in circles in their grave for the simple fact that ain't none of us get the message. I mean, a few of us did, so let me rephrase that. A lot of us didn't get the message. You see where I'm coming from? And the ones that did get the message get, how can I say, people try to bring us down, step on us, stomp on us, tell us that we crazy, that this, we don't know what the fuck. I'm like, we're not little kids no more. On some real shit. Like, y'all sit here and say y'all respect our ancestors, respect these people that became martyrs, right? But like I tell y'all, right, in order to accomplish a lot of these things and, do what we want to be done, we do have to sit here and, how can I say, break down the blueprint that they left us. Because there's a way to get out of all this because they did it. The only problem is y'all scared. Because what I hear a lot of people say is, oh, look what happened to them though. They lost their lives. But y'all sit here and talk about it so much. What is y'all going to do about it? Once again, is my question.
Facts. And see, some of these people lost their lives because, again, they were standing and fighting on something that they believe would be a possible change. But then again, some of this also happened because we got people who like to be moles. Every time, like I said, we start building towards something, we got an eventual mole that just doesn't want to see the change or is feeling a type of way because this person might be getting all the attention, or they feel this person is getting too big. And that's the thing. They don't want to see us get to a point where we really don't need it. I was just talking about that, like I said, this past Sunday. Even though it was a different topic, it still relates to the same message. They hate to see militant people who are going to stand on their forefronts and principles and actually put their lives on the line for something to happen. So, but the blueprint should be broken down all around the board. Like I said, you keep those blueprints in order. You keep certain things, continuously growing and going. You ain't gotta worry about too many issues. You could definitely be in a better position than what you're in right now.
Oh, shit. Yo, Nate be pulling these lives by himself for an hour, 2 hours. I be trying to figure out how he does this. He don't do no reviews, no reactions to back up none of the. Like, he really talks this shit. Like, I want y'all to see that it is toxic. Is my point. Like, on some real shit, you can reach people out here without acting a fool, without doing. I do it myself. I do reviews and reactions. He don't do none of that shit. And look how he's getting the message across. That shit takes balls. I should say bravery, but that shit takes balls.
Nah, that's a whole fact. I mean, but that's all I'm saying. Sometimes I don't need to do a reaction on certain things. Like I said, I pay attention to what the hell going on in the community now. And if certain things is out of wax, guess what? Everything gonna be out of wax. So I'm gonna always bring something. Boosie, what's going on, my guy?
Boozy, boozy badass. You said boozy. I looked. I was like, oh shit, you got boozy in your chair. Get the fuck out of here. Yeah,
I'm about to say, don't start
that.
nothing, won't be nothing. Look, don't start nothing, won't be nothing.
No, I thought you was talking about the actual boozy. I was like, oh shit, he got boozy badass down there. Like, yo, in my head, I was like, I'm looking like, what? Yeah.
I don't know. But see, this is the reason why I could sit down and have a long conversation like this, because this is shit I do on a regular. I'm with the people. I could sit here and do the same thing, have a regular conversation. And sometimes the conversation go longer than expected because, again, you know, it's good to always get different views and opinions and
Yes.
just different techniques on how we can fucking switch up some of the shit that's happening now. But again, when the people don't want to stand firm and stand in numbers, expect the same old bullshit. But once we decide, what, enough is enough, then we'll start seeing more things for what it is. And it's, what? Those is when the real changes are going to start transpiring. And guess what? it'll be a positive outcome, at least with some of them. It
Yeah.
won't be that clear and present danger all around the board no more. It will literally be, you know what? This ain't it no more. Get this shit up out of here.
People have to get tired in order to wake up.
But it's gonna be on both ends. Just like some of the politicians get tired of some of the shit that's happening and they wish they could do more, it's gonna be the same thing with the people in the community. At some point, it's gonna be something that brings us to a common ground. So,
Facts.
but it's sad. It would have to be. It's almost like it's gonna be a sacrifice to a degree for that shit to happen. And we shouldn't get to that point. We already had enough sacrifices as is throughout the course of history, especially when people were standing firm and what they believed in. But you also got to remember, too, in order for the numbers to stay together and to stand firm, you got to get rid of the moles. Word, what's going on, my guy? I knew you was coming out the bushes. Hold on. I got something for your 4th of July ass. Hold on. I got something for you. Where is it at?
What
Ah,
is
shoot.
he looking for it?
Here you go. There you go. Here you go. Oh, hell no. Oh, you done did something wrong. Oh, hell no.
We're abandoned
But
that for the weekend.
oh, yeah, stream y'all getting on my nerves. What y'all doing with my shit now? Hold on now, nigga.
Y'all
Hold
better
on.
man. He paid $50 for this shit. Fix the StreamYard.
I ain't paying nothing for nothing, motherfucker. Yeah, man, y'all better let me play my shit like y'all did on Sunday. Oh, y'all trying to be her. I got you. My bad, y'all. I can't have no fun and games right now. These
Nah,
whole ass.
they did you like they did me. I had to pay for my John. They was like, no more freebies. I was like, man, I'm like, Tasha K, I ain't got it. StreamYard got me this morning. I was like, babe, I'm tapped out. Can you pay for my StreamYard so I can go live? He's like, I got you. I was like, please. And I got
Yeah, nah, that's crazy because I can't even play my drops right now, and I just played them on Sunday. Nah, I can't play them today. Oh
nah,
yeah,
they
we gonna have a fight. We gonna have a fight. We
trying to get
definitely having a fight later.
That's why you heard me talking shit. I was like, y'all better fix that shit. He just paid his $50.
Shit, if they don't, forget it. Nah, you was gonna get part 4, son. Trust me. Yeah, I had some shit for your ass. Some shit for you.
StreamYard
Nah,
is
but you
getting blocked. He's trying to be like Tasha K right now. So StreamYard, I got something for you. I got something for that. I ain't got it. They say you can go live, but you can't promote shit.
Nah, but that's crazy. You not gonna let me play my little drops. This will be having the people in the stitches sometimes playing these drops. Now you gonna tell me I can't do nothing unless I do something.
They say
Stank ass some of my bitches.
they said you reached your monthly free limit.
I'm like, wait a minute, motherfucker. Hold on, son. Like, don't give me no hassles now. Y'all ain't give me no hassles over the past week or so. Shit, I barely use StreamYard as it is now. Shit, I don't care. That's all I'm saying. But see, even on scenarios like that, again, these are gonna be topics that we not gonna be able to fucking overpass or bypass. So, like I said, as long as I'm still able to come on, do whatever, we gonna keep having these talks.
Yeah, we're part 3 of StreamYard. StreamYard said either make a new account and try the free trial.
Yeah, but that's crazy.
They
This
said
shit, nobody had to do that anyway. Shit, like, come on now. Like,
they said rent is due.
shit, rent is due, motherfucker. Shit, give me my money. Y'all owe me. Shit, rent is due. Damn it, stream y'all owe me. Shit. Let me rock out. You better let me rock out. But you let me play my music, but I can't play my videos. What kind of shit is this? What kind of shit is going on here? What the hell, Leonte? What the hell, y'all?
Oh, they got Nate using the new trend. What the hell? My daughter almost got her ass whooped the other day. I was like, "What you say?" She's like, "It's not a curse word." I was like, "You know what? I'm done." I know I'm not getting to the point. I used to call all my old heads old because they didn't understand my lingo. Now these
Yeah.
niggas coming up with a whole new lingo trying to cover up the curse words, thinking we stupid as shit. Like I was there before. I created new words so I wouldn't get in trouble. But y'all words is too close to the words we don't want y'all to say.
I appreciate you serious, baby. But they ain't gonna help. These niggas gonna be doing too much. They ain't gonna be doing too much.
Oh man, these
But
kids is something else. Yo. I'm telling you, it took us a minute to find Waldo. They found him coming out the womb. They didn't wait to find, they didn't wait to turn 6 or 5 to sit here and look at the puzzle. They saw that shit coming up the womb. Like, wait, Mama was trying to figure out where Waldo was at. Look, Mama, I found it. Look who's talking. Part 5.
that shit crazy, man. That shit's crazy. It's just, but nah, that's why I said I had to have this talk tonight because like I said, even when I look at certain situations, like even if I peep certain news clips and things like that, I assess the situation. And like I said, I had some form of interaction with that same person. So, like I said, I could tell the difference between a whole dope head from a dude that's suffering from mental health crisis. And like I said, my mom's being one of those people that was, dealing with those people. Shoot, that's how I was able to narrow shit down. Like, oh, okay, see what this is. But
Letting a lot,
we just got to be aware. You know.
they letting a lot of them out the loony bin, yo. On some real shit. They're doing the same thing here in Philly. And they're rejecting a lot of them that need the help. And I don't know, like, don't a lot of homeless people got insurance and stuff like that, even though they don't got homes? I know they were talking about taking insurance from a lot of people. Like, they gonna do that to the homeless too. Like the mental health
Uh,
on the streets, they have SSI and shit. Well, I mean, it runs like that here in Philly, but I was just wondering because they don't have homes or nothing. They on the streets because of their condition.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing though. Some of them it is a situation where guess what? They gonna be falling under those lines of the same things we was talking about. But it's sad because again, in the long run, it's sad that somebody is out on these streets, they suffering, they not getting the proper help. But then the same token shit, you want to classify them or put them in the same category as you can't do that all the time. No doubt, James, appreciate you, my guy.
Buenas noches. I've kidnapped Nate tonight. Usually his word, but word has abandoned us. And Nate doesn't normally drop the link, so Shorty took advantage and hit that link.
No, I dropped the link. Y'all punk asses don't be in here when I drop this link. You better act serious.
Oh, I just
I
seen you live. Remember, like when you go live, I'm either live or I'm doing something, or like I'm.
know.
So I
I
just
know when
switched
your
to
ass
there
is sharing
live.
me out. I know. Look, I know when your ass is sharing me out and in the bushes. I know. Just like I know when word out in the bushes. And, like, look here, man. Look here. It's about the support. And y'all been great, and y'all have also been a supporting cast, regardless to what. And I always like having these conversations. Like I said, it's good to get different, views and knowledge on the situations at hand. Like this one right here. Most people would have just thought they saw the video and thought, oh, damn, yeah, he deserved whatever he's getting coming to him. But that dude suffers from mental health. Like I said, I had an interaction with him one time before. And it wasn't a bad interaction, but it was something that made me say, hold on, let me watch this nigga and make sure ain't nothing going on.
He belonging in the
So,
side. And I don't know who was. I think was it on Words panel. I'm not sure. I think the conversation was brought up, right? And I agree with the bull. I feel as though like because they took these things away, and like a lot of people complain about it, right? Bringing them back, but this is not 1942. You see where I'm coming from? This is 2025. All right, time has changed. Like bring back the asylums, put these people in the places that they belong, and give them the proper attention that they need. Because in a jail cell, they're not going to get the proper attention, even though they got the staff in there to deal with them. You see where I'm coming from, the doctors and stuff like that, but it's not the same. I feel as though, the treatment that they would get in an asylum, and I'm not talking about a mental health facility like Friends Hospital here in Philadelphia. You see where I'm coming from? I'm talking about a freaking asylum like Gotham, okay? You see where I'm coming from? to hold those type of crazy people. All right, especially the ones that don't want the help, don't want to take medication. They need to be in there, but those places got taken away. In a lot of places, I think they still exist in a few states. I think it is right, Nate, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. They still exist in a few states. But who's
No,
gonna travel from state to state? Nah,
we
that's
know we. But you want to know why some of these places are still intact the way they intact? Because if it's not being ran through, if it's not passed down throughout the family generations, that's because a lot of these communities are already seeing that you can't close places down like this because you'll have more of a problem now than you ever had. So again, and a lot of these places are getting the help they're supposed to get anyway. They're getting the proper funding, and it's not just from the people within the community. Some of these people, like I said, if they got an invested interest in certain things, you guess what? You ain't gonna never get them closing down. But they need to reopen up some of these spots. But you know what it is too. Also, some of these places had to close down because they ain't got enough staff to do anything. So
either. Like people don't want to get trained, and that's why I said earlier. It's not just the parents getting lazy; it's people in general. Because there's people out here that got the diplomas. You see where I'm coming from? Are not
yeah,
disabled, don't have no mental health. Like, listen, man, what I wouldn't give to turn back the hands of time and not have a doctor sit here and say you're disabled. You see where I'm coming from? I'm saying like,
yeah,
really, I can't go back to work. They're like, no, any wrong movement, you could be paralyzed. I'm too young to have my kids sit here and fucking change my diapers. I'm only 35, so I'm going to work around it and do what I can do. But people have fucking sat here and gotten lazy to the point they don't want to start their own business. They don't want to start a career. They don't want to go to work, but they want to be in mama's house or mama's couch with mama's nipple in their fucking mouth. You see where I'm coming from? See where
yeah.
and the crazy part is, right? Let's go to the men. Because that right there, that little part right there that I just gave y'all goes towards men and women. I don't give a fuck. The majority of these men, the majority of these women are stuck in their mama's fucking couch with their mama's nipple still in it. Then you got the men that are still in mama's couch with the nipple on it, depending on wifey's, how can I say, wifey's child support from the previous marriage. You see where I'm coming from? Depending
Yeah.
on wifey's food stamps and wifey's cash from the government. And wifey just letting him do it. Sit right there playing video games. He go outside, sell these nicks while he's smoking his own weed, not making no fucking profit, arguing with motherfuckers up and down the street. Too many fucking men doing this shit. So motherfuckers have gotten lazy. It's not that there's no jobs. Too many motherfuckers got their diplomas, graduated from high school. Don't some of them got a trade, some of them didn't. But is they putting their talents to fucking use? No, they're not. They think it's easier to go out here and pick up a pistol or fucking sling nicks around the corners.
Facts. Hold on, it's state funded. They don't have the money, you know what I mean? That's the truth. That is true, serious. A lot of these places are state funded. But then you got those that are state funded, but guess what? They not gonna ever close down these facilities because they already know what the dangers are from doing that. And going back to what you just said, Riders, um, that is that is a good, it's a good analogy on that. But then guess what? Again, it's all held with accountability. Whose fault is it that some of these people are not using or taking advantage of the things they're supposed to take advantage of? Yeah, you're supposed to take advantage of these resources and situations when it's given to you. You know, because some people when they don't progress in talent, they're gonna progress in life skills. But what do you bring to the table? That's the most important thing.
That's some real shit. That's what I'm saying. Everything go hand in hand whether people like it or not. Like whether no matter how many changes or how much difference we want to make around us, if we don't get up and do it like you just said, they're not going to get up and do it. So they're going to sit here and play around with us and keep playing around with us and keep playing around with us because we're letting them on some real shit. We're falling for the trap, and in between the gaps, we don't know how to get off. Listen, we're falling for the trap, and in between the gaps, we do not know how to get out the gate.
Facts. Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Until we really get into that notion of unity on all costs and no more division. Like I said, expect some of these things to continue to keep happening. You know,
That shit. It is hot as shit. The rain made it worse because the flies are outside. I had to come inside, got my legs bit up.
yeah,
I can't deal with this shit.
yeah, I know.
How
It
is it?
has gotten. What's that? It's gotten worse pre-COVID. The money government was giving made these. Yeah, exactly. That was another thing. Like I said, we had essential workers who during that pandemic, they was reaping the benefits to a degree because nobody wanted to come to work. Nobody wanted to do whatever. But then you got those who they done got too entitled because they was getting that fucking unemployment or getting that stimmy package or anything else. So my thing is, oh well, shit, well, I gotta go back to work for. If the unemployment good, I ain't going back to work. But it's like, come on then. At some point, I,
Facts. But what's crazy is, right, what's funny is, I think a few years back, he was one of the ones that was also talking about how that's not going to last. These are just funds. People don't, I think he was one of the ones trying to bring awareness to the situation, right? And I'm sitting here like, damn, like, people should have listened. Like, it's not just Cat Williams out here spilling the tea. You see where I'm coming from? There's regular people like Nate, the Word, Gary Bust It Down. You see where I'm coming from? That are out here spilling the tea. It's just not the wisdom that you want to hear it from and who you want to hear it from, I guess.
yeah. But they always got to remember this one thing. It's not about paying attention to the messenger. It's paying attention to the message. Shay,
That
baby.
Shay
No,
love.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Of course, when it comes to the regular Joe schmoes or whatever, it'll bypass them. But let it be somebody that's a well known name and they quick to be glued in. But I'm gonna have that topic on another day as well too.
That's some real
That's
shit.
what I'm saying. It's
I heard nobody say what y'all have said. Like, everything I have said a few years back, like, it's coming to life right now. And not even me, like, none of them thoughts crossed through my head. Like, I was already putting two and two together, but I wasn't thinking the way y'all was thinking. In my head, I'm more of, I want to save the world, but mankind don't want saving. So my focus is more, the kids. But I wasn't sitting around like, damn, Ray, you also got to draw the attention of the adults. Like, you had
yeah,
talked at one point, like, no, man, my focus was really on the kids because I can't reach the fucking adults, but there is a way. Like, I keep telling people, man, like, listen, Nate took me under his wing, Word took me under their wing, and I'm seeing things from different perspectives. You see where I'm coming from? So I listen to them a lot. Like, I don't do what they say to do, but I listen. I take the advice that they're telling me, and how can I say it? I put it in my own way. I twist it up and do what I gotta do.
yeah, because that's the thing though. I don't try to force nothing. I just have a conversation with the people. Again, these conversations and these talks is just about bringing back the critical thinking aspects, especially as far as a village and a community is concerned. Shoot, I want to be able to say that somewhere down the road, look, we all done had our rough patches or we done all had our little battles and struggles, but we got through what we got through and we actually made a difference. So
That's
I can't sit here and go against the grain on things I speak on. I might not be a perfect example. I might be cursing like a sailor. I'm rough around the edges. I would, how you say, I'm a hood booger, but I'm a educated hood booger. Get this right, like shoot. And then, like I said, it's just narrowing down a lot of different things. When you see certain things is not transpiring the way it should, that's when you got to stand on it. And like with this situation, I just said, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets out in the next 2, 3 days. Even though kidnapping is a serious charge, people with mental health, shoot,
oh, they're
it's a
gonna let him
revolving
go.
door.
They're gonna let him go. He got a jail out of free card. He does it again. I mean, listen, he only got but a few, attempts. He has to repeatedly do this again for them to take it serious. That's the fucked up part about it. Like I keep
Yeah,
telling people, that's like it's crazy.
nah,
Telling
but see, the community already know him. So, like I said, though, if they didn't know by now, they gonna definitely know, and they gonna definitely be on point. But see, that's the thing. Some people in the community don't always want to have to go to that unnecessary situation. Like I said earlier, I would hate to have to put my hands on somebody physically that I know has mental health crises. But if I got to protect myself and protect mine, I got to do what I got to do.
That's a
But it
fact.
should never get to that point. Like I said, reopen up some of these asylums, reopen up some of these programs that are needed. And then maybe this way it'd be a little bit more calmer. We still gonna have to deal with the unnecessary violence and shit in the hood to some degree, but everything else that on that note, it won't be a thing. Because at least these people will be getting the proper help.
Real shit. But there's a lot of things we need changes done to. But like I said before, I feel as though it's only one way, one language, right? That the ones in power understand. And we got more power if we really, striking, protesting, rioting. That shit don't work, right? Second of all, rioting within our communities, like what's happening right now in Philadelphia. I'm not gonna call it rioting, but people are striking. You see where I'm coming from? And in order for the support that they wanted from the people was to pollute our own community. I was against that. I want to support you, but I'm against what you're doing. You see where I'm coming from? It's not what
Yeah.
you're doing, it's how you're doing it at the end of the day. So it's like I'm on both sides. I feel bad for the mayor. I feel bad for the fucking union workers, police. At the end of the day, what are we gonna do as the people? What resolutions are we gonna come to? Because it takes us, not nobody else. That's why, listen, man. When Nathan Great podcast and the word taught me, right, when it was like community this and word was village, I was like, listen, fuck the community, fuck the village, because there's no more unity and none of that. And they had to sit here and break it down like, Ray, we just focus on the ones that are there, the ones that want that help. You see where I'm coming from? And it took me a minute to get the grip of it, and I got it now. So it's like it's gonna take a minute for us to do what we gotta do, but we need to do it together. Because divided, we're gonna keep crumbling, and that's what's happening right now. We're so divided to the point that if fucking war broke out, we drop like flies.
But yeah, but, that's why I said I had to have this talk. Oh, and because it's important. And I'm gonna definitely touch up on this topic again because again, like I said, there's a lot of dangers when it comes to this mental health thing. But we got to be able to get to a point where it's at least a controllable situation. Just like a controlled fire, yeah, we gotta control this shit. We gotta just take back our power, take back the necessary steps that we had before, bring back the critical thinking, but also bring back that situational awareness. Provide that safety where we know the safety is needed. The people that don't want to be a part of it, that's on them.
Real shit. Real shit. And I learned that shit the hard way. That's how I was able to get, start doing different things within my community and bring more resources as a block captain. Because, listen, I was getting frustrated in the beginning. It's like, y'all want this, y'all want that, da, 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 da. And then y'all telling me to do, y'all telling me this. Like, I know what the fuck I'm doing. So it's like I had to understand not everybody really wants to help. Like, and some people out here really do got some mental health. It's like the mentally ill, right? And the criminals are outside while the sane are in behind bars and in mental institutions on some real shit.
Nah, that's a whole fact. That's why I said we got to get back to that notion of, just bringing everything to the table the way we supposed to. That's what I'm saying. We got to just really pay attention to the most important aspects. And the most important aspect in any situation, any city, community, shit around the world is just safety first before anything. If we don't bring that safety, if we don't bring those necessary tools needed, we can forget about it. My bad, you're gonna hear my elevator talking for a minute.
What the hell? It's an episode of Insidious. I'm like, yo, I like watching horror movies, but I'm gonna stop for a second because either I'm tripping or Like this shit sounds like an episode of Insidious in my ears. When the damn ghosts are coming and they're in the hallways and shit. That little echo.
Yeah, nah, you gonna get that, you gonna get that though. But no, just like I said, the topic of the conversation had to happen tonight. Um, but I'm gonna definitely chime in on this again at some point. Um, I just felt tonight was needed because, again, in certain aspects where people would say, "Oh, he knew what he was doing." No, some of these people really have a warped reality, and some of these people, honestly, not saying that they don't know, but some of these people actually just don't care, especially when they're not getting the proper help. So they feel this is going to be how everything is perceived until they officially stopped. This is the things that's going to happen. That's why I said we got to put our foot down on certain shit, and that's it.
That's There's a way to do everything. For real, for real. We in a train now. Y'all hear it? But it's the elevator.
Shit, I'm outside now.
Oh, that's why you hear that train. It could be a car or a bus or something. It's outside. But it's not like a train. I need to get the hell out the subway, yo. Everything sounds like a damn train to me.
Shit. Nah, just like I said, it's just some things that, again, when it's all said and done, we just gotta stand firm on what we need to stand firm on. The numbers will be where it's at when the right people come along. That's it. And when those right people do come along, trust me, you're gonna see a lot of different changes because it's actually for something good and not just an agenda. So, but I didn't had a job for like 3 hours. I'm about to cut this short. But I appreciate you for popping in on the topic. And
But
I appreciate everybody that's been a part of these conversations the last few days. So um, I'm gonna definitely have a part two to this. And like I said, that link will be pinned. So
all right, I'm gonna hop in the chat so you can enter live. I'm gonna stay tuned because earlier this time when I listen to you live, I'll be doing something. So I was free now. So as soon as I get another free chance, I'm gonna hop on your phone. So I'll be waiting for part two. Till next
no
time.
doubt.
Hasta luego. Water.
You already know. Appreciate you for popping in. You always welcome to hit the panel whenever.
Facts. Across the border I go. Back to Philly.
Shout out to Riders for Life for popping in. Like I said, hopefully somebody did get something out of this. Hopefully the people will wake up and rise up to certain things. And like I said, just focus on the ones who definitely are going to be a part of and stand firm on the situations at hand. But it's time for me to get up out of here, y'all. I held y'all too long. Appreciate everybody that popped in for the conversation. I'll definitely see y'all tomorrow. Most likely it'll be in the afternoon. I'll bring something else to the table. Um, Appreciate everybody that's been a part of the chat, still been a part of the chat, a part of the building, and we still got great conversations, and we still gonna revisit some conversations as well too, because it's needed, you know. But yeah, since I can't play the birthday drop for anybody, again, anybody that's celebrating birthdays this month, I know, like I said, it's Cancer Month for a lot of y'all. Hopefully, y'all enjoy yourselves, stay safe, keep yourselves, visually on point and aware of certain scenarios. And when certain things are presenting red flags, you know what to do. But other than that, you enjoy yourself, stay safe, and just keep creating memories in another year and another blessing around the sun. But yeah, let me get up out of here. Matter of fact, hold on. I could at least still play my music, so hold on. I got something for y'all. I got something for y'all. appreciate y'all. Let me get up out of here. If y'all was new to the channel, like, share, comment, and subscribe. Shout out to the replay game. Shout out to the Shadow Mafia and the Shadow Babies. Y'all know what it is, baby. Everybody that was in attendance tonight, y'all already know that love is love and then be reciprocated as such. I don't know how to be fake. All I'm gonna do is give you real. That's all I'm gonna do is give you real topics and real bills. Hey, yo, Riders, I ain't gonna lie to you. I I'm talking about this. I might bring that back one of these days or one of these nights. We'll see how this pans out though. But it's not just solely on me. It's up to the people. You know, like I said, there's certain things that we gonna be able to do together. But it depends on the people. But yeah, I definitely think about that. If not, not towards the end of this month, hey, it probably could be next month. But you know, I'm gonna play this close and play this by ear. So, but y'all stay safe, keep that third eye open. Until next live, be out of here. Peace and blessings.